and the happiest of Mondays to you, my dudes and dudettes. It is spectacular to be back with you one more time again for another rousing rendition of the Rob Brown Show right here on The Fan Upstate. Hello, America and South Carolina and Greenville and internationally, I'd say Paris, London, Tokyo, America, Scotland, Mexico. Good morning to all of you, the international armada of the Rob Brown Show.
Except for you, Russia and Belarus.
Except for Russia and Belarus.
Yeah.
And I think we caught North Korea on that list too, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's an axis of evil.
Yeah. Effectively, if you're evil, you hate the Rob Brown Show. If you're good and love peace, justice, in the American way, you're here with us all 4 hours. So I assume to those of you who are not listening, and you don't hear this right now, but you hear it, you feel it in your heart right now.
America.
Yes, indeed. To those of you who aren't listening, I just have to work under the assumption that you hate freedom if you're not here every day. For those of you that are, America. I am Rob Brown, the great Lonzo on the other side of the metaphorical glass. This morning, as we roll through the foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment that you will find anywhere at all, at any time today. And, not that you didn't already know this, because obviously you did, because you are here. You are part of the armada. Today, I feel like the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Wait a minute. Leave that. Hang on. Introducing first, standing in at 6'3", 215 pounds, fighting out of Greenville, South Carolina. He is. No, that's okay. I'm done with that. I'm not vibing yet. We'll come back to that a little bit later in the show.
After you decide to fix it? Okay.
Fixed. I might unfix it later. It's fixed. You're good. I got it now. I might unfix it. So what you're telling me, I have the power to give myself an Echo Pigs in Space.
That's the best one you've done so far.
Ooh. Turn that off. It's fun, right? It's fun. And yes, that was the best one I've done so far. We have got a lot to get to over the course of the day today, ladies and gentlemen, because you may or may not know this. You may or may not have noticed, but football season began in earnest this Saturday, and it took precisely one game for chaos to ensue in the land of collegiate football. Florida State, number 10 team in the country, according to the AP preseason top 25, a preseason poll that, as we say every year, is completely and entirely unnecessary and unjustified. And yet, everybody loses their mind because the top 10 team lost. And they should have. There's a lot that went wrong for Florida State, went right for Georgia Tech. But I would like just to take one little tiny second here, just the briefest of opportunities here, to ask you all one very simple question. And that simple question is this: do any of you, just out of curiosity and literally nothing else at all, do any of you happen to know of a radio host who spent the last, 2 weeks saying, hey, this game's going to be close. Hey, this game's going to be a fist fight. Hey, do not be shocked if Georgia Tech pulls the upset. Hey, don't sit here thinking to yourself, I'll watch until Carolina starts, and by then it'll be 21-0 Florida State, and I'll tune over to Bryce Young, and then I'll come back and watch the end of the blowout. Do you know of any host anywhere that went on the microphone and said, hey, maybe, believe me when I tell you, Georgia Tech's good?
You didn't say that. Tell me you did not just say that.
I mean, Book, I'm not saying I said it. I'm just asking y'all if any of y'all happen to find a guy who maybe spent a couple of weeks saying this game's not a blowout. This game is going to be contentious to the literal last whistle. This game, no, it's not. No, it's not. Guy from The Princess Bride, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head.
Do you want the actor's name or the character? Yes. Wallace Shawn.
Character. I'm going to slap my... I knew that. Come on, Brown. Get your life together. It's not inconceivable because I spent literally weeks telling you all this Tech team's good. In fact, I can go one step further if you want me to. And I don't care if you don't. I'm going to anyway. I would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to take you back for just a short little clip that I said on Bet for the Cycle on Saturday. The Broncos used Russell Wilson. Nope, that's the wrong clip. Hold on. It's this one. This one. I found it. Bet you I'll put up a lot of clips of me because I was in fuego on Saturday. Here's this one. Haynes King, phenomenal rushing quarterback. I think that guy's going to be a stud for Tech. That is one of the reasons that when this line opened at FSU minus 13.5, I wanted no part of it. No part of it. I do not think, and I've been told it sounds like I'm trying to bail Florida State out before the game even starts. I am not. Listen to me. Brent Key is doing a fantastic job at Georgia Tech. This team is dramatically better. Haynes King is a stud. Jamal Haynes, the running back, is a stud. They have phenomenal play calling. This Georgia Tech team is going to ruin somebody's season. I said that weeks ago, and it may be Florida State right here in week number 1. Bang! That was Saturday morning. That was Saturday at noon. That was literally the opening segment of the show. That was the first thing that I said on nationally syndicated radio 5 minutes before the game kicked off. It is what I've been saying for 2 weeks now, and I got told, Rob, it's the same old Rob, you're Rob. You don't know ball. Yeah, I do. I might just know what the hell I'm talking about here. I might be on to something here.
Did anyone actually say that to you?
One guy did. Granted, I know the guy, and he texted me because he knew it was going to set me off, and he was right.
No, you're not that guy. Words don't do that to you.
Words set me off all the time. That's like half the content of this show at this point. All right? I said it because I meant it. I meant it because it was true. I said Georgia Tech is gonna ruin somebody's season, and it was game 1 Florida State. Now, let's not let FSU wiggle off the hook here. They embarrassed themselves entirely, completely. The defensive, I got told all damn off season by Florida State fans, this defensive line is going to be, yeah, but they should be, duh.
So that's the problem with Florida State. The offense wasn't bad. It really was the defense. Anybody could run on that.
The offense was not what it was last year, but also
they scored some points. I'm just saying they scored some points. But if the defense would have, defensed.
Wait, were you being sarcastic or serious when you said that?
No, I'm being
the last part.
What, the defense?
Yeah. No. The offense scored points. The defense was the reason this team lost.
Yeah, the defense was the reason the team lost.
Okay, I thought you were being sarcastic.
No. I mean, you can do that thing where you go after DJ. That sounds like what a Clemson fan
it's been awful already.
It wasn't his fault. It's the defense.
Well,
that's horrible because he put up points. And if the defense would have stopped the other team from scoring points, Florida State wins the game.
Okay, so I have 2 things about that. Number 1, DJ Uiagalelei was fine. Okay, he wasn't good. He wasn't bad. He was fine.
How can he be fine and not good? I mean, I guess meh, but no, he put up points.
It's DJ Uiagalelei was vanilla ice cream.
What was the final score? Well,
24-21.
That would mean that unless the defense scored, and it did not, if I recall, that he put up 3 touchdowns.
No, he did not. The run game put up touchdowns. A run game that, by the way,
he handed the ball off successfully to the running back who then.
All right, we're not giving him stop. We're not. I understand float DJU to aggravate the Clemsoners. I'm good with it.
Oh no,
like
that's not it. I watched the game, and legitimately, it was not his fault they lost. It was the defense. The defense is horrible. So you're able to build a team through the portal for offense, but can't do it for defense, apparently.
DJ Uiagalelei. So there's two things at play here. Number one, DJ Uiagalelei was okay. All right, he was okay. He wasn't great, but he wasn't atrocious. The loss is not saddled on DJ Uiagalelei, but I'm also not going to say DJ was cost a win by the defense. The reality here is there was a problem with the play calling for Florida State. Now, I would also like to point out Florida State did not have their offensive coordinator for this game. Remember, Alex Atkins was suspended for a game because of those recruiting violations, transfer portal violations that happened last year. So the play calling for Florida State was not the usual guy. That guy will be back next week when the Noles take on Boston College. I'm not saying that was or was not the reason. What I will say is offensively, the play calling was absolute for Florida State. You got Toafili, who's an outside back that you kept trying to run as a power back. You got Roydell Williams, who was a power back you kept trying to run outside. DJ Uiagalelei. And again, I will say this is one aspect of the game that Florida State is going to have to work around all season. DJU does not have a deep ball. All right. He's got the arm strength to get it down there, but it's like it's more of a shotgun than a sniper rifle. You just kind of send it down there and hope you get the target. DJU ain't got a deep ball, but we knew that already. He didn't have one at Clemson. He didn't have one at Oregon State. What DJU did have was a 70% completion percentage, which is good. All right. It's not great, but it's good.
Really?
Yes.
70% is good. Okay.
When 90% of your passes are check down passes to the running back, check down passes to guys behind the line of scrimmage. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it's not great.
Wow.
Check down passes. In fact, I may even do this just because I have a innate and undying desire to be right. If we were to remove all passes that were 5 yards or shorter, I bet that completion percentage takes a nosedive.
You want to go back and do that in the West Coast offense for anyone who's ever won with the West Coast? If we take away those 5-yard passes,
that would be fine.
We take those away. They're not very good.
That would be fine if Florida State ran a West Coast offense, but they don't. They don't run a West Coast offense. They run a pro-style offense, a down-the-field offense, and they're running a down-the-field offense with a guy who can't throw more than 15 yards with any accuracy.
I don't know that pro-style offenses are just downfield offenses.
They're not downfield.
There are a lot of pro-style offenses that do the 5-yard passes and let their guys do the rest.
There is a part of the offense that is the case. And then there are parts of the offense that aren't. And I know for a fact, off the top of my head, there were at minimum 3 passes that DJU had a guy on an outlier cut and he sailed it into the sidelines. There was one specifically on I want to say it was a big third down that DJU had a receiver cut to the outside, broke the defensive back's ankles on the cut, and DJU hit the second deepest guy on the sideline with a football. On a 17-yard out. You can't do that. If you can't complete that pass, you can't throw that pass anymore. And that's what it is. So the final take for me on DJU was he's not, let's be clear here, he is not a quarterback that will quarterback you to a national championship game. What he is a quarterback that is good enough for a great team to get him there. The problem is FSU ain't a great team. Who said that? The guy that said, you lost your starting quarterback, you lost your starting running back, you lost your top 2 wide receivers, you lost your utility man and bailout wagon at tight end, you lost half your defense, including, and who is one of, I named 2 people last week by name. There were 2 guys that I circled and said, this guy and this guy, the loss of them kills you. Keon Coleman and Jared Verse. Those are the two guys that killed you. Because on offense, Keon Coleman was a guy that could get down the football field and adjust to the ball. You don't have that anymore. Keon Coleman could make DJU look better than he is because he had an innate ability to adjust his body to the ball. Florida State doesn't have that. DJU doesn't have that. And on the flip side, Jared Verse was a guy who made defensive linemen's job easier because you have to double team him. You have to double team Jared Verse. That's why he got picked up by the Rams to replace Aaron Donald, because he can fill that gap. He may not be as good as Aaron Donald, but he fills that role. Without him, as good as Patrick Payton may or may not be, you don't have the guaranteed double team on the defensive line. And why did Rob Brown say Georgia Tech was going to be sneaky good all week last week? The offensive line. Because Brent Key is an offensive lineman who went to Georgia Tech. Brent Key was always going to have that offensive line playing like some damn monsters. And what did they do? They whipped FSU's tails right there at the point of attack. So Georgia Tech basically said, here's the deal. We're going to give it to Jamal Hines up the middle, or we're going to fake it to Jamal Hines, and Haynes King's going to run to the outside, and Florida State had no idea what to do. That was the most disastrous defensive performance that Florida State's had in years. They looked atrocious. And I will throw one more thing out there, just for fun. I look at the Patrick Paytons of the world. Florida State had 2 or 3 of these guys on defense that this offseason were in the portal, out of the portal, in the portal, out of the portal. They were looking for that NIL back. And ultimately, Florida State said, hey, you're good enough. We want you back. We don't care that you went in the portal a couple of times looking for the bag. We want you back because you're that good. Those guys, they look like they weren't, they had no stamina at all. It looked like they had no conditioning at all Saturday. None. So we got down into the fourth quarter because that field goal drive should not have happened. Keep in mind, on 2nd and forever, Georgia Tech had the botched snap that cost them 10 yards. They went 10 yards the wrong way, and Florida State still couldn't figure out how to kill that drive off because they were exhausted. And the offensive line for Georgia Tech mauled them at the point of attack. That's the Brent Key way. Just like Rob Brown said it would. Kill him at the point of attack and don't let him have the outside. That's what they did. DJU was fine. The wide receivers aren't what they were last year without Wilson and Coleman. The running backs aren't what they were without Trey Benson. And Jordan Travis was better than DJ Uiagalelei. Statement of fact.
So you're saying that the coach is to blame and he should be fired? That's what I heard from him.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's what I said. That's what I just said.
That's exactly what
I should have done is said, welcome to the Rob Brown Show. Mike Norvell sucks. Fire him. See you guys tomorrow. Because that's clearly what I said.
You blamed the coaching early on. You absolutely
I blamed the play calling and then said,
who does the play calling?
Alex Atkins, the offensive coordinator who was suspended for a game and wasn't there.
Wow, get rid of the coach.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm glad we took 18 minutes for Lonzo to extract the guy who went 13-0 and won the conference last year should be fired per Rob Brown. That's definitely what I said.
Print it.
The sad thing is Lonzo has the ability to pull that clip and make it a thing. And that sucks for me. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Mad World.
Do me a favor. Nolan, stay right there because I got to talk to you, buddy. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. Diggs, what's up, big dog? Welcome in. Nolan, I need you to text me. I think you should still have my number. If you don't, that's okay. You can email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, but either text me or email me because it came to my attention yesterday that I reached out to you on the website, and I don't know if it didn't come through or what, but Nolan, you are the winner of this year's Rob Brown Show bracket contest that happened way back in March, which means that you are owed a segment to come on the show and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So I need you to email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, or text me if you still have my number. If you don't, email me and I'll give it to you. But we got to get you set up and hooked up as you properly selected UConn to win this year's national championship game in March Madness. And you defeated your next closest competitor, Carlos with a K, by 3 points to take home the victory. Yeah, I mean, I looked at it last night, big dog. He said, "You sure about that?" Let me go make sure it was you, but I'm 90% sure it was.
Wow, you looked at it last night.
I did.
And now, okay.
Now he's got me. Now he's got me second guessing myself. Hang on. All right, let's see. Unless I looked at the one for... No, you didn't win the year before that, right? No, I know you didn't. Who won it the year before that? Diddy won it the year before that. Yeah. 2024 standings. Nolan Ruggles, 146 points. Carlos with a K, 143. So unless it's a different Nolan R, but I'm relatively sure that's you, my guy. I could be wrong. Carlos with a K had 143. You had 146.
3 friends in the next break.
3 friends in the next break.
That was really bad.
Yeah, I knew it. I said, if I don't crack this mic soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Busy day lined up for you today as we are talking college football with the season officially getting its start on Saturday noon when the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets stung the Seminoles of Florida State and ruined the opportunity at back-to-back undefeated seasons in literally one game. We will talk more about that game as it continues to move forward. But what, pray tell, does this do to the ACC? Let's put it this way. Dear Clemson fans, if you were ever going to pick a time to shine, this is it. The door is open.
No. The Georgia Tech is the champion. We've declared them the champion. Because of that stellar performance, how they totally destroyed Florida State Saturday, they're obviously going to be the champion. No one can come close to them in the ACC.
Okay, so Lonzo's immense, almost cataclysmic levels of sarcasm aside.
It is Monday.
It is Monday. Gotta get started off on the regular.
So it builds up all on Sunday, and
can't wait for Friday. What's Friday going to be like? As Clemson gets set to take on Georgia in the ATL this Saturday and either pull the most monumental of upsets in week 1 or join Florida State in the 0-1 category.
Are the realistic and analytical fans such as yourself for Clemson? I'm not saying you're a Clemson fan. I'm talking about the analytical part. Are they just already looking past Georgia? They count that as a loss and they're looking at the rest of the season?
I mean, I do.
So I do too, but
I think there is a possibility that this year's Georgia team is not as good as last year's Georgia team.
But I also thought Florida State was going to win Saturday.
Yeah, I know you did.
So, I mean, but I wasn't alone in that. So it's not like,
no, you absolutely weren't. In fact, our boy Seamus was the only guy to pick Georgia Tech on game day and has been absolutely wrecking Pat and the gang on Twitter ever since. I did not, so that we are clear, I did not pick Georgia Tech. I did say a lot of times I absolutely will be 0% shocked if they win this game, though.
Oh, no. Because that entire first segment, you made it sound like that
No,
you
I
picked
didn't.
them.
No, I didn't.
You absolutely
Once
did.
again, you infer what I said instead of listening to what I said.
All right, people on the stream, text line 71307. Didn't Rob play a clip where he talked about Georgia Tech, how they were going to win the game?
No, he did not. What he said was Georgia Tech is going to ruin somebody's season, and it might be Florida State. Not will be, and not is going to ruin Florida State's season. What I said was they're going to ruin somebody's season, and it might be Florida State.
Does the pointing help? Because it almost looks like you're reading what you're saying when you're doing that.
That's my. The point here is the ACC door have been opened now because the assumption was the odds on favorites were Florida State, which again, I also said all off season. It ain't that clear to me. I'm not taking a dime out on FSU to win the ACC because they are taking a step back. It was not a question mark. You will remember if you go back to last week, I also went back last week and said, I think Clemson wins this conference. And this was why. Do I think Georgia Tech wins the ACC? I don't. Do I think Georgia Tech has something to say about it? I absolutely do. And they did in literally one game. Literally one game. They had something to say about it. So to me, this Clemson-Georgia game, yeah, Georgia's a double-digit favorite. So was Florida State when it opened. 13.5-point favorites. Now, because I am an influencer, that line took a nosedive down to 10.5 because I said, I'm not betting on that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not rolling with that. But what I will say is Georgia Tech was looked at against Florida State the same way Clemson is looked at against Georgia. Everybody, massive size. 90 or 88, yes, really? 83% of people had Florida State picked over Georgia Tech.
So we knew I did, and apparently you did too. We all now know that. So, I mean, the majority of us were wrong. I'm curious if the entire ACC is going to be like this, if it's going to be this close, because that was a close game. It was. Could have went either way. If you look at the stats for the game, DJ was slightly better than that guy on the other side, whatever his name is.
Haynes King
or something. Yeah. It's just, this is a mediocre game for a mediocre conference. And just probably what we're going to get for the entire season.
I can't wait for Tech to make a run. Cause I went on the show Saturday and here's the prediction. Georgia Tech, I'm not saying won't, but they ain't losing to Georgia State. They ain't losing to Syracuse. They're not losing to VMI. They may have a game against Louisville. They ain't losing to Duke, and they ain't losing to North Carolina. Georgia Tech will be at the absolute worst, a one-loss team and a top 20 team when they play Notre Dame October 19th.
Hey, good for you. Do they play Clemson?
They do not play Clemson this year.
They
do, however, play number 7 Notre Dame. They beat number 10 Florida State. They play number 19 Miami, number 24 NC State, and number 1 Georgia. I think this
they don't play that stellar team that just totally destroyed Saturday night, SMU.
I mean, I will acknowledge SMU didn't look great. Needed a miracle and a bailout.
I was also being sarcastic.
Oh, I know you were
about that, but they still won.
They did gut one out.
They won
against rebuilding powerhouse Nevada. That game, they were 27.5-point favorites, and they needed a damn miracle to.
Did anyone cover this weekend?
I don't know because I don't remember exactly what the lines were in the other game. I know they were outrageous. SMU, I think, SMU did not have the longest line. The longest line was I think Hawaii was like 36.5-point favorites, and they did not cover. SMU did not cover. New Mexico did not cover because they lost to FCS Montana State. Hey, remember last week when I gave you the week 1 viewer guide on Friday? And I said, here's a reason to watch all 4 games. I said, number 1, Georgia Tech can upset Florida State. This is a contentious game to the wire. Bingo. I said, New Mexico could lose to Montana State, an FCS team, and have our first FCS over FBS team. I said SMU on the road may take some time to develop their offensive timing and chemistry behind Preston Stone. And I said Hawaii hosting Delaware State is probably the one you shouldn't watch, but that's at midnight, so I wouldn't blame you. I mean, no, I was right about that. Like, it wasn't a great game. But the point here is...
weren't you up at midnight watch? Because you said you were
I didn't do that. It was on pay-per-view, dude. I learned that it was on pay-per-view.
Wait, you're a host on a sports station. Don't you have, isn't that paid for you?
Anyway, it was on pay-per-view. All right? Listen, I used to stay up way past my bedtime when I was a teenager and buy wrestling pay-per-views, but this wasn't WrestleMania. This wasn't SummerSlam.
You were staying up past your bedtime like 5 years ago. It just hit you.
I stay at my bedtime now. I just pay for it now.
Oh,
now it just stays.
We all pay for it.
Yeah,
we
true.
all do.
That's true. Texter said, I told my wife that Georgia Tech turned a corner last year and they could play with FSU, a.k.a. Transfer Portal University. They will give everyone they play a headache. P.S. Lonzo reminds me of my friends that do not watch sports but still have an awful lot of opinions about them.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. You know what's great about it, though? I'm on a 3-time winning, actually, I've won it more than that, sports show of the year.
I've only got 3.
The state of South Carolina. So, you're right. What do I know? I'm just fooling everybody.
Texter said, I could hear Rob's arm breaking from patting himself on the back so hard. That's from Eric. Eric, appreciate the text. Again, it is important to me when I am told for weeks at a time that I'm a clown, I'm an idiot, I don't know ball. It's important to me to remind the masses, the armada at large, why it is that I do know ball. And there you have it. Nailed this game.
You're going to throw a rotator cuff out or something if you do that.
I did stay up past my bedtime again last night. I did that thing where I slept the wrong way and now my neck hurts, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Can't win. Texter said, Rob, DJU still sucks. Again, he doesn't suck, but he's not good. He doesn't suck, but he's not good. He's fine.
He was better than the quarterback across the way, but his defense is horrible.
I don't agree that he was. Haynes King ran for 54 yards on top of it.
DJ
ran for 7.
Look at the stats, dude.
Once again, as I worked with somebody.
You're Mr. Stats guy. Look at the stats.
I am looking at the stats, but if you think the stats are the only thing that matters, that's wrong too.
They only work when it's in your favor,
No.
and then if not, then they don't matter.
As with everything. One of my favorite traits about sports fans is the complete and entire ability to ignore the context. Screw context. This is how I feel, and I'm right. No, Haynes King knew exactly what FSU was giving him and took it and didn't need any more than that. They won the game on the legs of that cat. Oh, and Jamal Hines, who had 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. He
won the game on the legs of the kicker who, kicked the field goal to win.
And also did. Also, Florida State had a 52 and a 59-yard field goal. They got a dude with a cannon leg. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
3 friends.
All right, guys, another live right here, and we're back after that. Stay tuned. we back. Nolan, I'll tell you what you can do if you want. If you want to tell me what your topic is and then come on, just come on and spend the segment. Just come on as a guest, man. And we can talk about whatever you want. I can set it up, I can lay it out, and then you can just go to town. But like I said, you got my number. If you don't, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Shoot me an email, and we'll get you hooked up.
I don't know, Steven. I don't know if I talk stuff with Georgia coming up. I guess Clemson's not in last place right now because they haven't played an ACC team. So there's that. You're undefeated. I get the optimism, but
I think I probably wouldn't run game until I find out if Cade Klubnik has gotten better or not.
Yeah.
I think it's less about Georgia and more just about Cade.
Oh, if he shows out against Georgia, it's going to be a good year.
The whole thing's settled for sure.
Let's see. I went 6-3 Saturday.
And you're not going to tell me what I went, are you?
I'm figuring it out now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You didn't lose, I'm sure. Neither did I.
Bow, 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 bow.
Ooh. Rob went 5-4.
Oh no.
Ooh.
That was a tough one to pick.
Again, I beat you all the time. The problem is
all the time.
Everybody else is really bad. So if it was just me and you would have been on the wall already once or twice. Wow, that's embarrassing.
Blocked. It's all the way under the table.
It's like a foot away with your arm length.
But it's under the table.
Okay, well, put some finesse on it.
So, Bryce Young got to play a little bit on Saturday.
Wow, did he look good for that one series? He absolutely did. The footwork was good. He had ample protection, and everything looked good for one series. And if we can get that kind of productivity for at least 75% of the game throughout, they're going to be okay this year.
I do think they're going to be okay this year.
Chuba Hubbard looked good. I have concerns about the defense, though. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, didn't we kind of know defense was going to be a bit of a problem? Like you've got the stalwarts, you've got the Derek Browns, you've got a defensive backfield that you can't keep healthy, and I think you do have to be concerned about that. But to dial in on what I was told everybody wanted to see, and that was QB1 BY9 and what he was going to do, there's like a couple of little things that I would be concerned about. One of them is when running, as he had to do a couple of times, I need him to run more like Drew Brees and less like Lamar Jackson. I need him to run to protect himself, and I felt like there were a couple of spots where he was not feeling the pressure coming from behind him once he crossed the line of scrimmage, which is where if a QB is going to get racked, that's the spot he's going to get racked at. But I thought Bryce Young was poised in the pocket. I thought Bryce Young, Lonzo's thing he's been on this offseason, and I think it's very fair, was Bryce Young's footwork. I thought his footwork in the pocket was, frankly, pretty good.
Yeah, it was. He didn't look afraid. He looked patient as much as he could be because the offensive line's still not where it needs to be. So he did have some pressure and didn't, despite what you're saying, he didn't do that bad. I mean, he could have folded and buckled when he had to run. And I was impressed for one series. I hope that continues for an entire game.
It's gonna be up to, and again, this is why I said last year throughout the course of the season, when people were talking about the footwork, when people were talking about the posture in the pocket, the bravado or lack thereof in the pocket, this is why I said I think people don't particularly understand how much heat dude was under last year behind that offensive line. You put him this year behind an offensive line. I went back and I watched that game again. I watched it live. And obviously was watching a couple of games at the same time. But I went back and watched it again on Saturday night where I could kind of, watch play by play. Watch play, rewind it, watch it again, watch a different spot, whatever. And even from the first two passing plays, because I think they threw on first and second down of drive number one. On the first two plays, specifically the second one, because the second one to me is what the Panther offense is going to be this year. And that was a little pass across them, and not a little pass, it was a good 10-yard completion. But they had a wide receiver lined up in the slot on the left-hand side, Bryce Young out of the shotgun. They went with a formation that had no tight end. They flexed the tight end to a slot. So it was effectively 5-on-4. The Bills cocked out both defensive ends, so they were wide out. I mean, big, thick angle. So they had the two offensive tackles kick wide, which basically puts the pressure on the guards, right? Because if Buffalo's going to rush their defensive ends from way on the outside, you've got to slide your tackles out. You got to slide your tackles out. What does that do? It increases the distance that the guards have to separate from the center, and it opens up the holes. Now, it's not a guarantee that anything happens for the defense, because by flexing your defensive ends that far to the outside, you've effectively not removed two pass rushers from the outside, but you have pretty much done that, unless they can beat the offensive tackle. But when you're flexed that far to the outside, the other thing it does is it increases the amount of yards vertically that an offensive tackle has to kick that foot back, get backwards, and remove you out wide. If you can't cut back to the inside, which these defensive ends could not do, if you can't kick back to the outside, then what you're effectively doing is giving the offensive tackle more yards to play with. But every yard that the offensive tackle has to kick backwards in order to keep a defensive end, that's one more yard between he and the guard, and it opens up a spot that linebackers can rush through. It opens up a hole, which means the pressure is on the guard, not just to address the two guards in the center, frankly, not just to address the two interior rushers, the two defensive tackles, but they've got to make sure they're accounting for, between three guys, those two, and also have the third guy prepared in case there is a blitz coming up the middle. So on that play that we're talking about, that is that second play from scrimmage, that little slot pass across the middle, BY played it excellently well. He recognized that the heavy pressure was going to come down the field. This is a spot that a lot of young quarterbacks could take that extra drop, maybe two drops back into the pocket, because all they see in that spot is the two nose guards, the two nose tackles, the two defensive tackles coming at him, and the natural reaction is to get away from that pressure. But Bryce Young doesn't do that. He takes his drop as appropriate. I think he took a 3-step drop on that. He plants the back foot and he sits light on his feet, up on his toes, waiting for something to develop. He looks at read number one out to the right side, recognizes it's covered, comes across to read two. And what did he see in read two? But the back of the linebacker's helmet, who got drafted into coverage by the slot, who ran a little 7 and in, right? He sees the back of the helmet of 45 recognizes, if you want to go back and watch this play, you can pull up the highlights of this game and watch this play develop. He's got the slot receiver who looks inside at about 7 yards and kind of takes a deep cut. He looks up, he sees that 45, the interior linebacker, has gotten turned around backwards in coverage, right? Didn't get out front of the coverage. So he's turned around backwards, looking the wrong way. After he looks at read 1, looks at read 2, recognizes he sees the back of the helmet of 45. He sees the numbers on the back of the jersey, not the front. So he commits to that throw. Phenomenal read, phenomenal lead, phenomenal pass. And that was the story of the game to me, because that's what this offense has got to be. It's an offense that's going to be predicated off the run and then utilizes the run to look to the middle of the field. Where are those linebackers going to go? What are those linebackers attacking? And the two linebackers had played up against the run, so he looks at the slot. He looks at read 1. He looks at Deontay Johnson down the sideline. Deontay's covered up, so he goes to read 2, recognizes the linebacker because he was playing up against the run, got spun around by the man he was supposed to be covering, recognizes where that is going to be open at, and hits a good throw. This is what can be done. This is what I knew last year was possible. But last year, by the time that BY looked at read 1, read the coverage, saw he was covered, and looked to read 2, that pocket had collapsed. There was no time to get to read 2. I pointed this out all year last year. BY9 has 2 options. Read 1, oh my God, I'm going to die. That was it. Those were the 2 spots. It was either A, read 1, or B, I'm about to get trucked. What can I do to try to make a miracle? In this game, and again, let us also point out that, and I do think it is important to do so, this was against Buffalo's 2s, okay? This was against Buffalo's backups.
2s and maybe some 3s.
A couple of 3s.
Yeah.
So there is still a lot that's got to be fixed up, all right? Let's say this, great one. This, dramatically better than what we saw at any point in the regular season from the offense last year. Also, this against Chase Young and Cam and Demario Davis in New Orleans in week 1, different animal. Can they do this in week 1 on the road in a hostile environment? Because in week 1, the Saints don't suck yet. We will by week 7, but in week 1, we don't suck yet. So if we don't suck yet, the dome is going to be full. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. All right, it's week 1. We've got 600 days of no football pinted up inside of us. All right. So it's going to be loud. It's going to be hostile. And if there is one point that the Saints should be strong, it's the front 7. It's the linebacker core and the defensive line. So when he goes on the road and he's got a live NFL starting defensive line, a live NFL linebacker core, and an offensive line that's only played a couple of live action snaps together, will it still look discomposed? I don't know. We'll find out. But what I can say is what we saw in this game Saturday against the 2s for Buffalo, Bryce Young looked like a different animal, looked like a different cat, looked like a guy who was confident behind his offensive line, which I don't think he was last year, and I think that's entirely understandable. I'm going back on that same drive because I'm actually kind of watching rewatching the drive in live time here. There was the 2nd and 6 play once they had crossed midfield where the pocket did collapse. I think it was the right guard got beat. BY took a 7-step drop on this play out of the shotgun. The left guard got beat by a spin move. So what did Bryce Young do? Saw the spin move, recognized that there were 3 Bills defenders to his face and 1 on the backside. Utilized the back on the blocks, or used the block on the backside, escaped the first, got out, dodged up, and what did he do? Tucked the football immediately. Don't try to be a hero. And that is something else that I think I need out of this cat. I don't want you to be a hero this year. You're not an 8-year vet Pro Bowler yet. It's going to take some time. Don't try to be a hero. If you are under pressure, if the pockets collapse, if you have been touched by a D lineman, put the ball away, escape, and don't get yourself killed. And in this game, he did. Read it, saw where the leverage was, escaped it, got out of the pocket, pushed up the field to get close-ish back to the line of scrimmage, recognized there was a defensive back with a bullseye on that number 9, and he went down. Perfect. It's not perfect out of the offensive line. BY right back under pressure on pass play number 3, 4. whatever it was in that spot. But in the face of that, he did not just go to the ground and collapsed. He put the ball away. He secured the bag. He avoided the pressure. He made one man miss, Drew Brees style. If you got one guy and you can make a miss without getting racked, do it. If you get past that guy and you see another jersey of the wrong color, go down. I don't need you getting concussed, because if BY goes down, this team's cooked. All right? That's just it. There will be no improvement if 9's not on the field. Perfect. That's all I need out of the guy. I loved what I saw out of Bryce Young. Offensive line's got to get a little bit better for sure, but remember, they've played one series of snaps together, and it was against Buffalo's backups.
I am optimistic. Even though it was against the backups, the timing and everything was good. He looked good. The rest of them looked pretty good. We'll see what happens. But right now, I'm more optimistic now than I was before he went out there.
I think that's abundantly fair.
And that's what I wanted. That's what a lot of people wanted to see.
I think that's abundantly fair. I completely think that's fair. All right. There you go. 1 hour in the books. 3 to go. End of the first quarter. Second quarter coming up next. Lonzo is about to pull the Georgia Tech of sports flashes.
So I'll be mediocre, but good enough to beat Florida State. The decision of who to start at quarterback may have resolved itself last night for the New England Patriots. Starting quarterback Jacoby Brissett sustained a shoulder injury in the first quarter after being sacked by Commanders edge rusher KJ Henry. Brissett was seen clutching his shoulder after the hit. Rookie Drake May took over, finishing 12-20 for 126 yards and a touchdown. U.S. Ryder Cup captain Keegan Bradley knocked down a number of clutch putts to edge out Adam Scott, Sam Burns, and Ludwig Aberg to claim the BMW championship by one stroke. Bradley finished the event with an even par 72 on Sunday, becoming the first Ryder Cup captain to win a PGA Tour event in 9 years. Tune in this Friday night at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels head to Irmo to take on the Yellow Jackets. It's Burns versus Irmo right here on your home for Burns Rebels football. It's us right here, the Fan, upstate. Augusta Road. Billy Brooks.
Courtney said to me last night, in a compliment that I can't describe as backhanded because I don't think it was intentional, and I feel like backhanded compliments kind of have to be intentional. But she said, with all the weight you've lost, your butt's gotten saggy. And I went, I don't know how to feel about that. Because like on one hand, good, right? On the other hand, you're saying I got a saggy butt. You're saying I got an old man butt. And I don't know how to handle that.
Put in some laps, dude.
No, I need to get back in the gym, start doing some squats.
Okay.
All right. Them glutes. Got to fire them glutes.
You know, walking on a treadmill would take care of that too. You'd be reviewing a football game while you're walking on the treadmill.
So you know what I did yesterday?
Throw in an hour. I mean, you're busy. You're working. You won't notice you did an hour.
Yesterday, I rewatched the FSU Georgia Tech game. The whole game. Well, not the whole game. I skipped a lot of the commercials, but I rewatched most of the game. I watched it the way I watch wrestling in the office, right?
Mm-hmm.
While I was on the stationary bike.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up putting in like 24 miles while I was watching the game.
I mean, that's the way to go, especially for you, because of the attention thing.
Yeah.
And it has always helped me. I can't get on the treadmill right now because my leg doesn't work. So, I mean, you haven't noticed my leg not working? When I stand up, it just doesn't want to work.
I hear the ugh when you get up, but I just assumed that was just what happens to
Oh
old
no,
people
it's
like
just
me.
no.
Because I ugh when I get up sometimes.
No, my leg doesn't want to work right now. That has kept me off the treadmill. That's one of the reasons why I put so much weight on. It just doesn't want to work. And I was due to go get an MRI, but they wanted $600 up front. It's just like, yeah. So I guess my leg just don't work. So I mean, I don't need my leg for my job. I would rather keep it, but
I cancel my NFL Plus. I don't remember. I know I canceled a lot of streaming stuff because I got to the point where I was like, I'm not like I have too many.
Well, if you're not using it, what's the point of
exactly?
It?
Is Deadpool on Disney Plus now? It is, right?
Which yeah. 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah. You have to click the thing that says you're
a grown up.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this. I told Lonzo this during the break, and it's probably not something I should say on the radio, but I'm going to anyway, because what the hell, my life's an open book. I am open and honest with you, the Armada.
You're about to get a nickname. I'm just warning you. It's not me that's going to do it. Somebody will. So I'm caution.
I mean, I feel like it's earned, and I'm okay with it. I think I'm okay with it. We won't find out until afterwards. You guys know I've been putting in the effort to drop the LBs. Officially, Lonzo officially crossed the 213 mark this weekend.
Sweet.
Yeah, very, very. I got 8 more to go in 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks. It's going to be pushing it, but I'm going to push it.
You have the advantage of not having a really large head. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's.
You guys all remember that line in Jerry Maguire when the kid goes, the human head weighs 8.5 pounds, except Lonzo's.
Yeah, hey, listen, I'm not the only one. There's like Bradley Bozeman. There's any center out there.
You pick the biggest individuals on earth.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, they have large skulls. I mean, there's quite a few wrestlers who have JD McDonough. Now, he may have an average head. He's just got a really short body. Yeah. I have seen this, and it happened to me, where you lose too much weight and your head looks way too big for your body. But I think you're good. I'm just complimenting you.
I appreciate it. Yesterday, as I was preparing for my evening slumber, and I went to change into the PJs. All right, because I don't know about you, I'm a comfortable PJs guy. I'm either sleeping in the buff or I got real comfy PJs.
All right, satin probably for you.
Or, no, it's silk.
Okay.
I got the silk PJ pants. Man, if you had silk PJ pants, they're not even that expensive. All right, they're not. They're average.
Thanks
expensive.
for pointing that part out.
Well, because I know that's the thought. Oh, silk pajamas. What kind of? Did you have a nice sleep on your super yacht off the Maldives? You 1%er. I know that's what's coming.
That's more proof, because I don't even know where the Maldives are.
Only those of us that are allowed there do.
Yeah.
My silk PJs. All right, because I was getting comfy. As I went to change. The lady friend, who I can say this because I don't think she's listening yet, but we'll see. And we'll see if any of you are snitches,
man. Snitches.
Yeah. All right. Don't freaking snitch. As I prepared for my evening slumber and changed into the PJ pants, the lady friend says, with all the weight you've lost, I need you to get back in the gym. And I said, why? She said, because you have a saggy butt now. And I said, pardon the up out of me? What? She said, you have an old man butt now. And I said, I have a what? She said, you have an old man butt because you carried a few extra LBs in the gluteus maximus. And now they're gone. You got a saggy old man butt now. You need to get some squats in and fill that thing out. And I said, I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I mean, I feel like you said it with good intentions, right? Like You lost a bunch. Because I'm down at this point. I'm almost the 263 to 2. No, I'm at 50 down. All right, I'm down 50 pounds since February. My birthday was the biggest I'd ever been. I was over 263. I'm now at 213. I've lost 50 pounds. She goes, it's noted. It's obvious. You look good, but you got a saggy butt. You got an old man butt.
You know, I've heard that the Soggy Bottom Boys might be looking for a guitarist. I'm just saying.
That's very good. That's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Brown, lead guitarist for the Saggy Bottom Boys. Damn it, that's really funny. So now I have a saggy old man butt, which means I gotta get my saggy old man butt back into the gym.
No, there's a way to solve this. I mean, old men have been
get fat again.
Old men have, well, there's that, but old men have been doing this for years. You got to go above the navel.
Gotta go with the high waters.
You go right up above the navel. So they're too busy looking at the belt line going, that's not right, that they don't notice the butt.
Tell the guys in the suit shop, I need you to add about 6 more inches to the bottom of the legs because these bad boys got to get lifted a little bit. Incredible. Saggy ass. Yeah, what are you going to do? I'd rather be 213 with a saggy butt. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is, ma'am. It is what it is. All right, it is 7:05 in the morning. You are less than 54 minutes away from having to get your saggy butt into the office. And when you do, you're going to sit on said saggy butt. You're going to fire off those emails. And then after, 11, 12 minutes, you're going to go, time for the first break of the day. And you're going to walk down the hall. You're going to go down to the break room. You're going to stand against that wall where the boss can't see you. Definitely not wasting time. We're all being productive today, okay? But you're going to walk into the break room. You're going to go talk with Sally from Invoice. You know, Sally, big sports gal. Saggy's going to, Saggy. See, I can't even get it out of my own head now. It lives rent-free in my head that I got a saggy ass. It's just in my head now. It's unbelievable. Sally is going to want to talk some football today because why wouldn't you? It's Monday. It's sports day. We had a football weekend. So you're going to go talk sports with Sally. And if you're going to talk sports, you got to know what's going on. And if you got to know what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, you need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"Oh, man, I don't know is that."
Take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Oh, XL, you magnificent. Dude's the best. The best. All right. It's the water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this AM. Let us dive right in, ladies and gentlemen. Head first to the deep end. That is item numero uno. Yankee slugger Aaron Judge, you may have heard the name. That is because he is very good at hitting baseballs. I mean, he's also very good in the outfield as well, but he's very good at hitting baseballs, and also he's a really large person. He's got one of them Lonzo 11.5-pound heads. He a big boy. He's sturdy.
Predator trophy.
He also now has 51 home runs on the year with still 31 baseball games left to play. Aaron Judge knocked home runs number 50 and 51 yesterday off the Colorado Rockies. He started in the first inning, an 0-2 changeup from Austin Gomber in the first inning. Judge went with first inning dinger number 18, matching A-Rod back in 2001 for the Major League record of most home runs hit in the first inning of a baseball game. Judge then hit number 51 in the 7th inning. He was the middle of a trio of back-to-back dongs from the New York Yankees. Juan Soto went yad, Judge went yad, Giancarlo Stanton went yad in the next AB. It was the first back-to-back for the Yankees this year. However, it was Soto and Judge's like 7th back-to-backer this season, which is, I've done the research, a lot. Aaron Judge, 39th career multi-homer game, fifth career multi-homer game this season. The Yankees captain has 7 homers in his last 6 games, 10 in his last 13, and 47 blasts in his last 102 games. The 2 homers on Sunday put Judge on pace to hit 63 home runs this season. Of course, that would be just enough to break the AL single season record of 62 home runs set in 2022. By whomst, you ask? By Aaron Judge. He is on pace to break his own record for most home runs in a single season. Now, he does have a few more days as he currently sits with 50-run home runs, tied for the most home runs hit before September with himself. Aaron Judge back in 2022 was on this same pace. He had also had 51 home runs. However, his 51st home run last year came in the waning days of August. This one came 7 days, a full week before the end of August. So he's got a week to hit one more and be on a faster pace than he was in 2022 when he set the AL single season record. The only guys with more home runs before the end of September: in 2001, Sammy Sosa had 52. In 1998, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa had 55. Sammy Sosa did it again in 1999. And in 2001, a guy you may have heard of by the name of Barry Bonds had 57 before the end of August. I don't think Judge is getting to 57 in the next week. I do think he can get to 55 in the next week. The Yankees have 31 games remaining before they get to the end of the regular season.
Why don't they walk him? Why don't people just try to walk?
They do. He has more walks in Major League Baseball than anybody else, and also this many home runs.
Okay. All right.
Now, the problem is because see this big brain on Brad over here? Knower of ball. At the beginning of the season, Rob Brown said Juan Soto being added to the lineup unlocks Aaron Judge. Why? Because you got Juan Soto in front of him and Giancarlo Stanton behind him. That makes Aaron Judge unwalkable. Because if you put Soto on, now it's a 2 RBI blast if Judge gets a hold of him. And if you walk Aaron Judge because Soto got out for some reason, well, you got Giancarlo Stanton behind him, who is also a home run threat on any given pitch, which means you're going to give Stanton the chance for a 2-run blast. Aaron Judge, unless you're in a very particular scenario, has become an unwalkable hitter who basically every time he swings the bat has the potential to send a baseball into low Earth orbit, and he does it like a lot of the times. Aaron Judge, single season blast, 50 and 51 yesterday. Let's go to item numero dos. 5-1 your final as the Washington Nationals avoid the 3-game sweep at the hands of the Atlanta Braves. The loss for Atlanta was tagged to Luke Jackson, who gave up 3 runs in just 0.1 innings of work. 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, and Cade, the only one that he recorded on the books before being replaced ultimately by Aaron Bummer. And it was a bummer of a contest after Reynaldo Lopez gave up through 6 innings, 3 hits, just 1 earned run, and Cade 7 did more than enough to win the game off the bump. Did Lopez, as he and the Brave staff was able to hold the Nats to just 8 hits. The problem was they came at critical times. The Atlanta offense, however, once again, the problem, only 3 hits recorded. You had a Matt Olson, a dinger, that accounted for the Braves' only run on the day. Sean Murphy and Orlando Arcia both had a hit as well, but Michael Harris, the second, once again, another Brave goes down. Hit on the hands by a pitch, was removed from the game, did have some precautionary test run last night. According to initial reports out of Atlanta, no damage done. Michael Harris, the second, should be fine, but we'll find out. He was replaced by Jared Kelenic, who had the day off. They combined for an 0-for-3 day. Soler 0-for-3, Ozuna 0-for-3, Laureano 0-for-3, Merrifield 0-for-3, Urshela 0-for-4, Sean Murphy 1-for-4. Arcia was 1-for-4, and Matt Olson was 1-for-4 with the dinger. Just 3 hits recorded by the Braves yesterday, and that has been the story of the season. the Braves get hurt, and the Braves offense just fades into obscurity. However, there is a bit of good news here. The good news here is the Philadelphia Phillies lost again, which means that the lead in the NL East is still at 6 games with 31 games left to play. So that you Braves fans don't get too pumped up, you're not winning this division, okay? 6 games in 31 days, not overcomable unless the Phillies go down with what it would have to be the most historic collapse in the history of this division. I'm not banking on that. The good news, however, is that you have put another game of distance between you and the New York Mets for the final wild card spot. The Bravos now up 2.5 on the New York Mets in total. The wild card standings in Major League Baseball in the National League right now shape up this way. The Diamondbacks have the number 1 wild card spot right now. They are 1.5 games up on the San Diego Padres. They are 4.5 games up on the Braves, who are 1.5 games back of the who are 3 games back of the Padres for wild card spot number 2. I'm not worried about that. You just got to get a wild card spot and give yourself a chance. The wild card spot right now by the Braves, 2.5 games up on the Mets. Everybody else starting to fade. The Giants and the Cardinals, both 5 games back. The Cubs, 5.5 back. The Reds, 7.5 games back. The Pirates, 8. So at this point, the wild card race is basically, though not for sure, anybody could go on a run in a good or a bad way at any point. The wild card race basically is down between the Diamondbacks, Padres, Braves, and Mets in the National League. Let's go to item number 3. A golf tournament doesn't ordinarily make the water cooler cheat sheet, but this one was a big one. The BMW Championship was one tournament that Keegan Bradley has struggled in over the years. He did not this time up in Castle Pines in Colorado. Keegan Bradley knocking down some big-time putts on the back 9 to shoot a Sunday par 72 and give him a one-shot victory over Adam Scott, Sam Burns, and Ludwig Aberg, who all checked in a spot below. Bradley gets the dub 1 week before he heads to Atlanta for the Tour Championship at East Lake, where Bradley, who went from number 50 to number 4 in the FedEx Cup Championship standings, will start 4 shots behind Scotty Scheffler with a reasonable chance at winning the FedEx Cup and its $25 million prize. The starting point for all 30 golfers who have qualified for next week's Tour Championship and the $25 million that goes along with winning. This may shock you, Scotty Scheffler, who is, and I've checked the math, very good at golf. Starts at number 1. He is starting with a 10 under. Xander Schauffele, a -8, 1 slot ahead of Hideki Matsuyama at -7. Keegan Bradley slots in at 6 under, 1 ahead of Ludwig Aberg, who is 5 under. You got a handful of golfers who will start at 4 under. They include Rory McIlroy, Collin Morikawa, Wyndham Clark, Sam Burns, and Patrick Cantlay. Sungjae Im, Saeed Theegala, Shane Lowry, Adam Scott, Tony Finau start at 3 under. Byung-Hun An is 2 under, along with Victor Hovland and Russell Henley. And that is pretty much your list of competitors. I think anybody that is more than 8 shots off the lead is probably cooked when it comes to the championship this weekend. If you don't watch golf, or maybe if you're a fringe golf fan, maybe you're like, I watch the Masters and that's pretty much it. Worry not, dear friends. You're going to want to watch this weekend, because while the Masters is about the passion and the pageantry and the tradition and the beauty of the golf course, this week at East Lake, these boys are competing for a $25 million payday. I don't know about you, great one, but if they put me into a thing and said the winner gets 25 mil, you're getting the best I have ever been at that thing, no matter what that thing is.
Well, at least for the first time you win the 25 million. I mean,
yeah, after that, who the hell cares? I got $25 million.
Exactly.
I'm good. Now I'm set. All right. So there you go. Your water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this AM. When we come back here in just a minute from now, I got a few things that we need to get to. We need to talk more Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers as they wrap up the preseason. We will put to bed week 0 of college football and turn our eyes towards week number 1, including the first kickoff of the day at noon when the Georgia Bulldogs and the Clemson Tigers get it on in Atlanta, Georgia. We will also talk a little Saints football. Not because of the Saints game yesterday against the Tennessee Titans. Meh, whatever, don't care. What we will get to is what Lonzo is about to cross off of the Twitter trending topics, and that is the fact that Spencer Rattler remains the steal of the draft, like I said he would be before he was a Saints. And now he is a Saints. And he showed yesterday that maybe Rob Brown knows a little ball. All that more coming up as we continue the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Good luck.
All right, guys, quick live read. We're back after this. Stay right there for me. Thanks. All right, dudes, we're back. It is back in business, Steven. The vehicle is back in driving spot, but it still has to get fixed. I am leaving here after I cut my promos right after the show. I'm leaving here to take it to another mechanic, this one who specializes. So what I have found out so far via last week at 2 body shops, both of which said you need a mechanic, not a body shop, and then 3 mechanics, 2 of which said we can't fix this, and one of whom said I can fix it, but it will take me 3 weeks. It is the evap system that is hanging out of the bottom of my car. The evaporation system, which I've learned so much about cars in the last week and a half. The evap system is a system that when your car burns gas, pulls the vapors out of the engine and it recycles them back into the engine. And it does that until effectively the gas vapors are filtered out of your car. So if the system breaks, effectively it just dumps the gas vapors either into your cabin or into the atmosphere, both of which are not great either because I get super high. I have not, or I'm just a massive polluter, and I don't want to be that either. The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the fan upstate. Rob and the great one, Lonzo, with you this morning. Can I go over this right quick, like just for the conversation? Remember when DJ Uiagalelei was at Clemson and it didn't go great? Remember he was the future. He was the next Heisman Trophy candidate. He was the guy that was going to raise Clemson back up. Well, I guess they weren't really down because they had Trevor Lawrence before, but he was the guy that was going to keep Clemson way up. Remember all that?
Hey, real quick, you notice we don't hear that about Cade?
You don't, but I also think it was because of the amount of what word do we want to use here? Bleep talk.
So it's the guy after the guy who wasn't the guy that they thought was the guy. So now this guy gets a little bit of leniency.
Yeah, I think there was so much put on DJ and then it didn't go great that you kind of don't want to run smack that the next guy's the guy because you're going to get hit back with the last guy was the guy and he wasn't the guy. Well, this is fun. Remember what my biggest not criticism of DJ was, but do you remember my biggest rationale for why it was that DJ was not ready? My rationale was, and it's something that ended up sparking a bit of a debate at the time, was that I was afraid DJ Uiagalelei was taught by a couple of people and convinced by a couple of people that he should be, would be, could be a brand before he ever learned how to be a top-notch, top-level college football quarterback. My theory, and I think I'm good with it. I think I was right. My theory was that Big Dave Uiagalelei had taught DJ how to be a brand before he taught him how to be a quarterback. And then when he got on that airplane with Dabo Swinney, Dabo convinced him that he was going to be great before he ever strapped on the tiger paw. And so here's the thing. I understand why, because you gotta butt kiss the recruit a little bit, right? You gotta butt kiss the 5-star to get him to your school. So you go, you're gonna be a legend, you're gonna be an icon, you're gonna be a Heisman Trophy finalist, you're gonna be a first-round draft pick. You gotta do all that before you really ever get to see if the kid's got it to play college ball or not. Now, with Dabo, very understandable. Because most coaches, not all, but most coaches are going to butt kiss recruits a little bit if that's the guy they really want. You're amazing. You're the bestest ever. That's going to happen. What I had a problem with was Big Dave. What I had a problem with was DJ's dad, because DJ's dad was the guy. DJ's dad was the guy that I think kind of was a bit of an issue, right? I think DJ's dad was so involved. And ordinarily, I wouldn't go after a recruit's family. Ordinarily, I wouldn't start talking about a recruit's mom or a recruit's dad. They would be, to me, off limits until they inject themselves in the conversation, until they make it about them. Because when they make it about them, now you're a part of you have entered yourself into the conversation, right? It's kind of, not to draw a comparison, but it's kind of the way I feel about politicians. Family members are off limits until the family member injects themselves. Now you're a target. Now I can come after you. All right? That's how I felt about DJ's dad.
Could you keep your pointing on your side of the board?
Oh, this one wasn't at you. This was like a generic.
Yeah, but it's getting a little more aggressive. I just, so I might be have to talk to HR.
You gotta emphasize the point. Gotta make people know what you're saying. All right. DJ Uiagalelei, as I said back in the first hour of the show, was fine. He wasn't bad. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. It was just another college football quarterback. The reality was, you saw on Saturday why it was that Florida State wanted Cam Ward. Cam Ward rejected FSU, went to Miami. DJ's what was left. All right. They couldn't get Dylan Gabriel. They couldn't get any of the other transfers that they wanted. They wanted Cam Ward. Cam Ward wasn't available, so they went with the next guy that they could get, and that was DJ Uiagalelei. Wasn't a well-stocked quarterback transfer class. He was fine. 19 of 27 for $193, no touchdowns. It ain't good, but it ain't bad. I would also point out that of those 193 yards, I would estimate, and I think I'm being fair here, I would estimate probably about 100 of them were yards after the catch, were wide receivers and running backs making guys miss. But again, part of a quarterback, part of a QB1 is the ability to get the ball to a guy with an opportunity to do something with it. It's one thing to throw it to a wide receiver who's draped. It's another thing to lead that wide receiver in a way that he doesn't have to break stride. He doesn't have to lower his speed and allow a DB or a linebacker to catch him. He can just keep on trucking and leave a dude in the back. That's what DJ did, and he did it very well. DJ's dad, Big Dave, went on Twitter and basically tried to exonerate the performance of DJ Uiagalelei, right? Went on a retweet spree of people that were praising DJ, saying DJ this, DJ that. Again, I don't think DJ Uiagalelei deserves to be put on blast for this performance. I also don't think that it was a performance that you want to celebrate. It was a performance you put on tape and go, see, this is what this kid can do. Because I don't think it was. Yeah,
but we will see a lot of quarterbacks not play that well in their first game of the season.
For sure. And that's the other thing that I've pointed out a couple of times. Offensive coordinator unavailable, suspended for game one, Alex Atkins. Who knows what the play calling looks like in the next game? Because I will tell you, you know what the play calling looked like? The play calling looked like somebody was dialing up the plays that wasn't really comfortable with it. You had Lawrence Toafili, that's a finesse back, running up the gut, running off center, running off guard. You had Rodell Williams, more of a power back, running off tackle, running out wide. A lot of the pass plays were very, very, very simple techniques, right? Very simple concepts. I don't know if it changes when Alex Atkins come back. What I do know is the play calling was bad. Will that change? Will DJ Uiagalelei be a different guy with Alex Atkins at the controls? I don't know. Will he be a different guy in week 2 against Boston College now that they've got a game under the back? One of the things that I kept pointing out on Bet for the Cycle, which airs noon to 4 on the BetQL Network, hosted by former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker and myself, Rob Brown. One of the things I pointed out during this game was, keep in mind, you can do all the spring games you want. You can do all the live scrimmages you want. But at the end of the day, this is college football, not the NFL. There's no preseason. There's no scrimmages, no exhibition games. There's no preseason games like there is in the NFL. How many times have I pointed out? The NFL preseason ain't for casuals. It's for the coaches. It's for the players trying to make a depth chart. Tomorrow, NFL teams have to cut their rosters from 90 down to 53. That's a lot of guys that didn't make a roster, and this is what they were fighting for. Yeah, the preseason games are bad. They're boring. I'm not going to disagree with you. who was it? Collinsworth and Tirico had an interesting thought last night. I'm going to talk about that coming up in a little while. But there's no preseason games for college teams. These teams roll out into week one. It's the first live action against people they don't know that they have experienced. So for some guys, it may take them a minute. They may not be great practice guys, and it takes some time to get into the game concept. I don't know. I don't care about that. What I care about was this. It might be, and again, I don't even have a problem with any of the things that DJ's dad was putting out there. He put out one from RG3 that said DJ gets a lot of hate, but the young man had ice in his veins on that last drive. And he did. That drive that FSU scored in to tie the game up, DJ was surgical with passes on that. He can do it. He texted or he retweeted one from the Full Count pod that said, crazy thing is DJ played well. I don't care about analytics. I was there. He started off the game 11 of 13 with 2 incompletions being drops. Coach got to get KYP number 10 to be involved in the game way more. Again, don't disagree at all. DJ was again 11 of 13 and there were two drops. He could have been 13 of 13. It was fine. Here's what I'm saying. This is a game that it didn't go great and it didn't go bad. It was fine. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just fine. It was okay. It was a game that you needed the defense to show up. They did not. It was a game you needed the run game to show up. It did not. Your 2 star running backs had 38 and 32 yards respectively. It's not good enough. But at the same time, if I'm DJ's dad, you may just want to keep him out of the limelight, right? This is what, to me, caused the problems at Clemson. You kept propping this guy up into the limelight when he wasn't ready for it. And when you've got a parent who keeps pushing to make his kid a brand before he's ready to be a quarterback, he's going to get his ass whooped. And that's exactly what happened. He was having a run for his life, and some of those throws that weren't accurate because he was getting hustled. Bad offensive line play, no disagreement. No threat of a run game, no disagreement. But when you pop this kid up into the portal, up into the limelight, up into the portal, appropriate. When you pop this kid up into the limelight, when he ain't there yet, you don't make his job any easier. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Donovan, good morning, big dog. I appreciate it. The Rob Brown.
How you doing?
Oh, my bad, Corey. My bad. I didn't hear you though. What'd you say, Corey?
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
Real good, buddy. Real good. Thank you very much.
My timing's off a little bit because you were out all last week and I had to match my timing to the,
He's back. Back in the studio today for the two of you that were kind enough to ask. The answer is the vehicle has been fixed up enough to be drivable, but it is not fixed yet. All of the stuff that was critical to the driving operations of the vehicle have been fixed up. But there are still a couple of things that still have to be fixed up to have it in peak operations, which, stinks for a car you've still got a car payment on for the next 3.5 years. But, life happens, right? What are you going to do? So, yes, we are back in the studio. I was able to get here today. I'm glad I was. It just feels right. It just feels right to be back in the studio once again across from the great one, Lonzo. If we sat alongside each other, these microphones would have to put in extra time. So we sit across from each other so that the mics point in different directions and we don't yell into each other's microphones. Yeah. It's radio stuff.
There were a couple of days last week where I didn't see anybody because I don't always.
You're welcome.
I don't always interact with other people, and I wasn't popular last week, so nobody came over to talk. I got a lot of work done, though. Just saying.
I believe that too. So you're welcome, basically. It's all of that sounds amazing. I didn't have to see anybody, and I got extra work done. That sounds great.
It's a little too quiet, though.
I also believe that.
Those quiet moments when you get up really early, that can be a problem. I'm just saying.
All right, we talked a little bit about it back in the first hour. Let's dive right back into it in this conversation. Can I tell you what it was that I think was the most, I'll say impressive, was the most pronounced about Bryce Young's performance against the Buffalo Bills backup defense yesterday? Can I tell you what it was that jumped off the page the most at me? Zoe, he looked a lot more confident and comfortable than he did literally at any other point in his NFL career thus far. I know.
I have to agree. He came in, he drove the team down, scored a touchdown, and he had a little bit of swagger to him. The confidence of a starter, not a rookie going out there going, I don't know what's going on, but someone who looked like he knew what was going on and knew he had the ability to make it work.
I think that's it. I said I don't know how many times last year I do not think you could build confidence behind the offensive line Bryce Young was asked to play behind last year. And I know we keep kind of harping on putting the blame all on that guy, but I do. Or on those guys, I should say, but I do. I don't think it was possible for BY9 QB1 to develop any confidence, any comfortability, or any routine in the lack of a pocket that he played behind last year. And that is why I have made it. I mean, listen, I say it as a joke. I know that technically it's incorrect. I know that literally it is incorrect. I have made it a joke, but not really to me, that this is his rookie season. All right. I know he played last year. I know he was a Panther last year. I know he was QB1 all but one game last year. I get all that. It's more figure of speech-ish that this is BY9's rookie year. And the reason why I say that this is BY9's rookie year is because of the fact that there was no offense last year. There was no concept of an offense. There were no concepts within the offense last year. There was no consistency on the offense last year. When you pile all those things together, I don't care if you got the most talented rookie quarterback in the history of the league, comfort is not an option. Now, there may be a couple of guys who could perform well without comfort. But I think those are guys that are more built like a CJ Stroud or an Anthony Richardson than a guy that's built like a BY9. The reality is, and I said this going into last year, CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson are more adept at getting to the outside, at getting away from pressure, at extending plays, at going off schedule is now what we call the Patrick Mahomes-isms, right? You got to go off platform is the way they go. BY is a guy that can make off platform throws, but he's not a guy that's going to be able to do a lot physically to get outside of the pocket and then make them. Why do they work for Lamar and CJ and Anthony? Because when those guys get wide of the tackle box, now they are a threat with the football and to throw the football. BY9 is not a big threat to run the football. Even if he gets outside of the tackle box, I just need a guy committed to him. I don't need two. With Lamar, with CJ, with Anthony Richardson, I need two guys to commit, or else that quarterback's going to make one guy miss. I don't feel that way with BY9. And if I don't feel that way about BY9, then I'm bringing extra guys up the gut because I'm going to tell whoever is my linebacker on that side, if BY9 gets outside wide, you go with him. Just one guy. Just one guy. I need one guy to bring this cat down. I need one guy. The other guys I mentioned, I need two. And that does what? Pulls the defender up, pulls the defender off the pass routes. Now, because that guy is a threat to throw and run, now it just got easier for him. Because while the run possibility has decreased, the pass possibility has increased. And because of that, they have that advantage. An advantage BY9 does not have. That is a spot that his game is lacking compared to those other guys. So, what I saw in this game was a lot more comfort in the pocket. And if there's comfort in the pocket, that means, to me, one thing. It means he's got time. It means he's got ability to stand back there, to set the foot, to plant the foot, to make the read. I've been watching the first drive like all morning this morning. I've been watching Bryce's first drive all morning. I've been watching the pass plays that he has been making. And one of the things that I very much like is watch BY when he drops in the pocket. And this, when we talk about the happy feet, right? You don't want a quarterback with happy feet. Here's what I'm seeing out of the guy. It's the 3-step or the 5-step drop. And when he reaches the depth of the drop ordinarily determined both by the concept of the play, the timing of the routes within it, and the depth of the outside pass rushers and where you anticipate that pocket being set. Buffalo was, and I talked about this back in the first hour as well. If you missed it, go to thefanupstate.com, drop down the podcast page, and you can go back and listen to the other hours on demand after the show has come to its conclusion. So, one of the things that the Buffalo Bills were doing was taking their defensive ends and setting them out wide. They were putting them a full man outside of the tackle box. having them angled in to take a more shallow rush angle. And what that means is offensive tackle is going to kick out, going to try to push that guy further back. It's going to be a longer pocket with larger gaps inside of it, pressures on the guards in the center. Where was the weakness for this offensive line last year? On the guards in the center. That's where the weakness was, and teams exploited that. Now that there were a couple of guards in the center that were holding their blocks, watch B. Young's footwork. Snap, 3 or 5 step drop. He would hit his depth. He would take 1 hop, maybe 2, hop, and then plant those feet. And watch his head while he's doing that. Second pass play, actually first and second pass of the drive. It was a 3-step drop, plant the foot, hop to get comfortable, right? It's like I would describe it to those of you that play golf. It's like a golf swing. You know how when you're coming up to the golf ball and you address the ball and you get set, what do? You wiggle those feet. You get those feet planted. What are you doing? You're making sure your feet are secure under you and they're in the right place to be able to generate the hip turn and the power you need in the drive, right? It's the same concept. It's drop back, get to the depth in the pocket that you are scheduled to be on, get those feet, plant them. That hop is to get those feet where they need to be, set underneath you. Set them down and go through your reads while you're doing that. And that's what I saw out of this cat. First 2 drives, I watched him take that drop, set that foot, hop. And this is how I watch what a quarterback is doing. I watch the feet till they're set, and then I'm watching the head. I'm watching where he's turning the head. On the second pass play, which was the one over the middle. On the second pass play over the middle to the, he had a tight end split out to a flex. And when I watched that play, if you watch the hop, if you watch what BY is doing there, he takes that hop, he takes that second hop, but watch his head while he's taking that hop. He's looking over to the right for Deontay Johnson, who's running a fly route down the right-hand sideline. The head goes over there. He looks, he sees that fly route is covered up both by a man in coverage and an over-the-top free safety. That fly route clears the safety out. That's why they ran the route from Jatavion Sanders where they did. The fly route takes both the cover corner with Deontay and it pulls the free safety on that side of the field with him. He's got to go over the top to help. JT Sanders curls in behind the linebacker. The linebacker was set. Realizes he's in coverage, spins around backwards. BY's got him because he looks up the field at Deontay. The linebacker's looking at his eyes. He sees he's looking deep, so he stays there because I can't help if he throws it deep. I can't help, but I can help if it's a handoff or it's a play action or it's a QB sneak. I can help with that. QB draw. I can help with that. Looks him off, waits until JT Sanders hits his end cut. Soon as he hits the end cut, the head turns to find 85. He sees the back of the linebacker's jersey. That's what I'm looking for if I'm a quarterback. Can I see your nameplate? If I see a name and not a name of the team, but I see a player name, that's the guy I'm attacking because he can't see me. He's looking the right way. He didn't know where that ball is or where it's going, right? So he watches Deontay. He lets Deontay clear out the free safety. When the safety drops, now it's a pass-catching tight end, one-on-one with the linebacker. He cuts through. He sees the back of the linebacker's jersey, so he rockets the ball ahead, puts it out front of JT Sanders, so Sanders can grab that thing while still on the run. Wango bango. Excellent 10-plus yard completion for Bryce Sanders. He looked comfortable. He looked composed. He looked poised in the pocket, and he found a good pass-catching tight end on the route so he could yak 2 or 3 more yards after it. I was thrilled with that play specifically because that play had everything we did not get out of Bryce Young last year. And again, not because Bryce was incapable of it. I've been telling you since week 3 last year, he can do this. I promise you he can do it. He's got every tool and every physical capability to do it. He can't do it with the weaponry he's got. He's being asked to win the Daytona 500 in a 97 Corolla. It don't work that way. You can't. Doesn't matter if you got Jimmy Johnson and Mario Andretti's love child driving it. Can't win that race in that equipment. Can't win football games with that roster. This year, they bumped up the roster. And when you look at that, he can do it. Now, again, Alonso pointed this out in the last hour. It was against Buffalo's backup defense. This was not a first-string, full-speed, number 1 NFL defense. Will it look different against the number 1 defense? IDK. We'll find out. Week 1 ain't easy. The New Orleans Saints have one spot that they are filled at. It's the front seven, defensive line and linebacker. That's the strength of the team. That's the heart of the team. And they know they are going to come after Bryce Young until Bryce Young proves he can't do it. So, will he do it in week one against a good New Orleans front seven? On the road, week one, when you know the Superdome is going to be the loudest it's going to be all year because we're going to suck the rest of the year, so we might as well have fun in week one? I don't know. We'll find out. If BY comes out, and I'm not saying he's got to win the game, but if he comes out and he looks comfortable, poised, collected, if he looks in week one like he looked in preseason week 3, I think a lot of confidence gets inspired by the Panthers. Oh, damn, maybe Dave Canales can do this thing. Maybe he can do this thing. We'll find out. Football, NFL, just a couple of weeks away from yesterday. Next Thursday night, Lonzo's got to stay up way past his bedtime as the Chiefs and the Ravens, a rematch of your AFC championship game, because there's a nowhere a ball. I'm going to tell you, that game's going to the finish line. That's a one-score contest. That's somebody's kicking a field goal to walk it off game.
Yeah, that's usually what happens with the Chiefs.
Uh-huh.
So.
But I sound good when I say it. You know who else sounds good when he says a thing? Lonzo, when he reads his sports flash. Got a new beat for the flash.
Sometimes you got to pump yourself up. Chicago White Sox miserable year continued as the team took its 100th loss in a 9-4 game against the Detroit Tigers. The White Sox took 131 games to reach 100 losses, becoming the second fastest team to reach that number, outpaced only by the 1916 Philadelphia A's, who took one game fewer. The White Sox all-time highest losing season was in 1970 when the franchise lost 106. Yankee slugger Aaron Judge is well on his way to breaking his own record for the most single-season home runs in American League history after blasting homers number 50 and 51 in a 10-3 win over Colorado yesterday. Judge's first inning blast was his 18th this year. Tune in this Saturday at 5:30 as the Furman Paladins get their college football season started as they take on the Ole Miss Rebels. It's Furman versus Ole Miss right here on your home for Paladins football, The Fan, Upstate. QC in the first break.
QC in the first break. Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show starts now. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Rob Brown Show. I am Rob Brown, the guy over there, that handsome devil. That's the great one, Alonzo. You can see our bright, beautiful, shining faces if you join us on our live stream. Facebook.com/The Fan Upstate. The Fan Upstate on YouTube, or The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Just search The Fan Upstate or The Rob Brown Show across all the streaming platforms, and you can watch the show live all 4 hours, all 5 days a week, every day that we decide to do it. Hope you join us there. The text line's open, 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. You can also X, post, tweet, whatever the show, at The Rob Brown Show. At The Rob Brown Show, if you want to go in that direction. As we got an X there a minute ago from Volton Johnson, Tennessee fan, by the way. He said, quote, not sure why all the hype around DJU. Look at his career numbers. He's not an All-American caliber quarterback. He's middle-of-the-road average ball thrower. Yeah. I think that with Florida State fans, and this is going to be something that college fans, as the transfer portal and the methodologies that coaches use it, continue to adapt, continue to evolve down the line. This is something that is going to impact a lot of college football fans. That is having the necessity to manage the expectations around guys who come through the portal. I know that there are a lot of FSU guys who thought DJU is going to come in. He's finally grown up. He's finally developed. And now he's going to be Jordan Travis 2.0. And the reality is, no, he's not. No, he's not. He's not going to be that. My man is what is DJU now? 24 years old? 26 years? Oh, I think he's 20. Oh, he's 23. He's almost 24. He's 23 years old. He's not an 18-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid, first year on campus, right? He's been around a couple of times. You know what DJU has in the back pocket. You know what he's capable of. The question is, how much more can you develop the guy? And more importantly, and this is why I think for transfer guys, it is less about, not all of them, but for the guys that are at the end of their career, guys that you bring in towards the end of their college football career, it is less about what can you coach into them, and it is more about how can you utilize their strengths? How can you play these guys into your system? And I do not think that is necessarily going to be an easy thing to do. I don't think Florida State did it in week number 1. I don't. I had a couple of criticisms. I think the offensive line was atrocious. I think the defensive line flat out embarrassed itself. I remember reading a comment by, who was it? One of the draft gurus a couple of days ago. I don't remember which one. And again, I don't fault somebody for getting it wrong. I get it wrong all the time. I don't fault somebody for getting it wrong. I fault someone for getting it egregiously wrong, right? I think you can be wrong in sports all the time. That's why sports gambling is a thing, because you can get it wrong. You can get it wrong as often as you get it right for most people. But there is a difference between I got it wrong and I got it egregiously wrong. One of the writers said this Florida State defensive line is going to be one of the greatest of all time. My guy, last year's defensive line was better, and I said that going into the season. But before they played Georgia Tech. Last year's defensive line behind Jared Verse was better than this year's. Guys like Patrick Payton are going to be fine, but last year's was better. And that defensive line got absolutely manhandled, rocked, pushed around, and owned by the Georgia Tech offensive line. And I got good news for Florida State. So are a lot of other defensive lines this year, because Brent Key is an offensive lineman with an offensive lineman mentality that never stops. It makes perfect sense that the most violent and aggressive group on a Brent Key roster are the offensive line.
All right, I'm going to be curious because I looked this up. After this week when everybody plays, how the starting quarterbacks who were transfer portal quarterbacks play. Because as far as that goes, I thought DJ looked pretty good. He did, being a transfer quarterback. And according to AI Overview, whatever that is, there could be up to 42 power conference teams with transfer quarterbacks starting this year.
Sure.
So, I mean, a lot of guys moving to new teams. How well are they going to play in that first game?
It's going to be interesting to watch, because you're exactly right. I think there's a handful of games where it's two transfer quarterbacks going after it, right? Playing against each other. Here's the thing I don't think you're going to be able to do. What I don't think you're going to be able to do is paint everybody under a broad brush that will give you an answer to the question of, are QBs, transfer portal QBs, a good or a bad thing? I think you're going to have some that look wonderful, and I think you'll have some that look like trash, and I think there's 1,000 variables that go into it. It's the natural talent. It's the how ingrained in the old culture are they, and are they able to shake that and join the new culture? Is it, are they switching playbooks dramatically or just a little? It's, are coaches comfortable changing up their play calling to match the quarterback's strength? There's 1,000 variables that are going to go into whether transfer portal quarterbacks are successful or not. Enough that I don't think let's put it this way. I don't think that question is answerable, because I don't think there is an answer. Are transfer portal quarterbacks a good idea? Some of them will be and some of them won't be.
By the way, I didn't say a good or bad idea. What I'm saying is, I think a good portion of them are going to struggle in the first game, and all that considered, I want to compare how these other quarterbacks do to DJ and how well he played. Will they play as well or better, or will they play worse? And you're right, it's a team by team basis on whether the each individual grasps, or if the plays are similar to what they came from. But I'm curious about that, and if it becomes a struggle that most transfer quarterbacks fail, which they can in the case that you were talking about when two are playing each other, will that start to stymie quarterbacks moving places?
That's a great question. It's a great question. And we'll find out. I'll
Pretty
tell you.
proud. Nearly 30 years
good
radio,
use of stymie.
I have never used the word stymie.
It's a good use of that word in that spot. And I'll tell you some places that we're going to find out. We're going to find out with the Oregon Ducks. Dylan Gabriel transfers up from Oklahoma.
That's also going to find out with Ohio State. So, yeah.
Find out with Ohio State. You'll find out with Oregon. There are some top schools with transfer, like national championship competitors that have transfer portal quarterbacks.
Until last week, there were people who thought Florida State might be one of them.
There was one more until last week. For the record, and again, just because
they can still make the playoff.
Hear that? That's me patting myself on the back.
Yeah, but you also, even with all the weight you lost, you still had to push your elbow to get your arm back there.
I can get there.
Well, you just do the Ciampa thing. You just got to go. I mean, there you go. I mean, you don't have to get deep in the back.
Listen, I deserve a deep backpack.
Would you like me?
Backpack. No,
come and pat you on the back,
because
I will do that.
I don't need to get Gunthered across the trapezius,
which would hurt a lot worse than the chest, I think, because you don't see it coming.
I don't know, man. You're I'm a lot softer in the chest. I gotta get back in the gym because I got a saggy ass. All right, I gotta get back in the gym. No, I think that you're going to see a lot of transfer portal quarterbacks succeed and a lot fail. But like I said, this is one of the things that I love the most about football, is that it is a sport that is simple in concept. Take this ball and go X yards that way and cross that goal line. but it is complicated with how many moving parts have to go right. One guy getting it wrong can blow up a play where 10 guys get it perfect, right? That's why we love football. So for me, this is why I've landed on DJ Uiagalelei was fine. And he is fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's not great. He's not bad. The part of the thing at Clemson was the same thing. He was fine. Was he good enough to win a national championship? If he's on a team that is good enough to win a national championship, yes. Is he good enough to pick up the piece? You know who he reminds me of? J.J. McCarthy last year. Was J.J. McCarthy good enough to win a national championship? I mean, clearly, yes. But I don't think it was because J.J. McCarthy was special. I think it's because the Michigan Wolverines built a bruiser of an offensive line, built a bruiser of a run game behind Blake Corum, and maybe they had a little help from the audio-visual department.
Yeah, I read that Connor Stallions thing come out tomorrow.
It is coming out tomorrow, and while I will be hosting BetMGM tonight, which you can hear me live on this station from 7 to 11 tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, filling in for Brad Evans, who is the new host of BetMGM tonight, as my friends Trista and Nick announced last week that they are leaving to move on to future endeavors, and I love them. Taylor Swift heart hands emoji. I will miss them tremendously. I'm very happy for their future endeavors, but that just gives old Uncle Rob Brown the call in from the bullpen to fill in alongside Ryan Horvath the next couple of nights. Looking forward to that. Next trio of nights, actually. But I think when it comes to football, the reality is you look at guys like DJ and you go, you got to build a championship team. And then there are other quarterbacks that I think you don't have to build a championship team. You got to build a good enough team and let a great I'll point one out to you to go back old school, just to throw in an illustration that I think is relevant. The 2013 Florida State Seminoles that beat Auburn in the national championship, Jameis Winston. That team was good. It wasn't special. That team was good. It wasn't the best team in football, but it was a good enough team that had a Jameis Winston at the helm. That team was a good enough team that had a guy in Jameis Winston that could elevate good enough to great. And then there are other teams that I think had quarterbacks that were good enough, J.J. McCarthy, but they built a great team around him, the Michigan Wolverines from last year. I think that you based it around a mauler of an offensive line. You based it around a quarterback who was good enough. You based it around a running back who was dominant, Blake Corum. All of those things combined to make a championship caliber team. So to say, and this is not what Lonzo said, to be clear, I'm more addressing the hypothetical listener who asked this question. To say that a transfer portal quarterback is a good or a bad idea, I don't think you can answer that. I think the reality is some of them will be, some of them won't be. I do think what you will have to pay attention to is how do these guys fit onto your team, right? Because I think there's a lot of guys that are going to be picked up just because they're very talented, and then you're going to bring them into a program that they don't necessarily fit what the coaching staff wants to do. And to some degree, I'm worried that might be DJ Uiagalelei. DJ's a guy that would fit very well on, and I do think Florida State thought they were going to be this. DJU is a guy that would fit very well on a team that is predicated on the run, that is a run first and run often team, and that will call him into reserve to make a pass every now and then to break up the run. And it's never going to be a Hail Mary ball. DJU does not have a long ball in his arsenal. It's just not there. He's 23 years old. He's not going to suddenly develop one this year. It's going to take some, it's not a thing. I'll tell you right now, there is not an illustrious NFL career in front of DJ Uiagalelei. When he's done at Florida State, he'll get brought into the NFL, likely as a UDFA, maybe as a 6th or 7th round draft pick. He's going to be a guy that's going to compete in preseason, not look great, probably get picked up. He'll spend a couple of years in the NFL as a practice squad quarterback, and that'll be it. All right? Because he doesn't have a long ball. He doesn't have a threat over the top. NFL defenses will feast on that. At the college level, I can cover that up with an excellent run game. And I'm not saying Florida State doesn't have one. I'm saying they certainly did not on Saturday. And it killed DJ. Because without the run game and the threat of it, Georgia Tech's defense, by just winning the offensive line with their defensive line, they took the opportunity to put extra guys back and make sure that the easy ones weren't there for DJ. So he had to go underneath. A lot of dink and dunk, a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short passes, and then they had to rely on the Yak Daddies to get something done. Well, they ain't got Keon Coleman. They don't have Johnny Wilson anymore. They got a couple of guys who, and by the way, they're one of their top receivers, Destin Hill, out for the season, which took away a big chunk of your DJ. You can hit somebody if they're running butt naked open down the field. Then he'd probably drop it in there. But if there's a defensive back anywhere, I knew DJ missed 2 throws that he sailed onto the sideline to open guys. I know he missed 1 throw on a deep ball that was woefully overthrown. And I know he missed 1 guy who was wide open on a deep ball that was woefully underthrown. And when you combined all of those things, all of a sudden, DJ's passing numbers weren't what you wanted them to be. Exactly what I thought they were going to be. And that's it. That's it. This is why I've said, transfer portal quarterbacks, are they good or are they bad? You can't answer that based on literally what transfer portal quarterbacks do. Because I think half of them are going to look good, and I think half of them are going to look like crap, and I wish you the best in determining which is which. Now, some smart coaches are going to take a look and try to find what's the common thread between all the guys that were good and all the guys that were bad, all the guys that were bad, all the guys that were down. And maybe as this continues to develop, maybe we start to notice some differences. Guys who were, asked to do the same thing, or guys that were this or that. Like, maybe we'll find some patterns. But I don't think we can or have yet, at least none that have jumped off the page to me. Come back, get to segment 2 of Hour 3. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, one more live and we're back. Stay right there for me. Thank you.
So there was something banging on the bottom of the house yesterday. Would you have went under to try to figure out what it was?
I don't know.
Because I didn't.
Correct. I mean, probably not.
It sounded like they were trying. It was. There could have been multiple.
It was.
Multiple it's trying to take the ductwork down from the vent. Or at least the echoes were coming through the vent, and it was hitting hard. First thing I thought is, okay, it's a cat. Where's the cat? Found the cat. She was asleep. Was not her. And if it was mice, I'm moving because it was. I mean, she has done her job, including this morning when she knocked a ton of dishes down trying to, I assume, go after a mouse. It's starting to get cooler. It's when they start trying to come in from the woods, and that's why she's there. But I also saw a possum. I'm telling you, look, from without the tail, that big, and probably almost that wide. I mean, it was in the driveway like 2 days ago.
It's a fat possum.
It was. If it got stuck under my car wouldn't move. It was that big. It wasn't angry, Steven. I can't walk really well. That's pain on my face. And I knew I had to try to walk fast because I had limited time to do something that I needed to do. Partially because I can't remember a password. And it was easier for me to just go grab my laptop. Because getting old is not a graceful thing like the liars say it is.
Like the liars say it is.
It's not.
I just got targeted with an Instagram ad that is selling authentic 100% straight from the tap Canadian maple syrup. And I don't know that I've ever had 100% maple syrup. And I kind of want to buy a bottle of it.
Yeah, but you don't know for sure that it's just because they say it is doesn't mean it is. I mean,
it's via Amazon. So like, I don't think it's a fraud.
Speaking of, I had a pancake for the first time in a long time because we went to First Watch Saturday. Since I had to drive all the way in to give someone their key, that's a totally different story. Because someone taped their key to my desk in my office, which was closed. And I think someone did it on purpose because their response was, dang. Have you ever heard him say that before? Anyway, so we went out to breakfast and they had a pumpkin pancake. And I'm like, let me try it. It was so good. I've never had a pumpkin pancake before. It was really good. Never had anything bad there yet either. Eventually there's one right over here. I don't know if it's
I've been
good.
there a few times.
Yeah.
It's good.
But the pumpkin pancake was huge. And you got 2 eggs, and I tried chicken sausage, which I've never tried before. Not bad.
It's not. They sell it at. I'm not saying it to bring it up, but they sell a big package of it at Costco.
Well,
not only is it good, but on top of being good, it's dramatically better for you than regular sausages, and it's not bad. Scratch it. It's not bad. It's good. So I buy.
It's better than turkey sausage.
Yes, it is better than turkey sausage. I buy chicken sausage by the pound at a time. And that you can get it in linker patty, 6 minutes in the air fryer, and it is perfecto.
New life, next break.
I should have sausage and syrup.
There you go. I did.
After I'm done getting married. let's get to a little rage. You guys know how sometimes I go off on a tangent. And very frequently, unfortunately, it has to do with something that's ticked me off about one of my favorite teams. And then I go off on this tangent and I'd go, I'd feel this way even if it wasn't not about my team.
Or it's something I say will also cause that.
Correct.
Yeah.
But this one's not. This one is something that I know I'm going to get behind. In fact, I'm so comfortable saying this is a tangent that I've had about one of my teams many times, and this time it's about zero of my teams. In fact, if anything, it directly impacts two players that I very much like. And I'm so comfortable in saying this that I'm going to say 96.7432% sure that Lonzo's going to agree with me on this take.
Wow.
I know. That's about as sure as you can be. Yesterday afternoon, after I got done watching a little preseason National Football League, I decided to peruse the internets and just see what was happening in all the other sports. You know what it is football season. It is officially football season, as in official football hath been played and records hath been kept. But I said, you know what? There's still other sports going on. Let me take a spin around the other sports and see what else is going on in the world of other sports. So I did that. And I came across an editorial. Now, I'm not going to read the whole editorial. I am going to say that it was credited very simply to NBC Sports. And NBC Sports put up an authorless editorial, or I should say uncredited editorial. Lakers should pursue Luka Doncic as face of franchise after LeBron. Now, let's be clear about a couple of things. The Lakers are well within their right to do so.
By the way, who shouldn't pursue him as their okay?
Oh, we're coming to the gut reaction. I promise. The Lakers have every right to pursue Luka Doncic, or frankly, any other NBA superstar that they wish to do so. And Luka Doncic has the right, should he elect to do so, to spurn or accept the advances of the Los Angeles Lakers, should the Los Angeles Lakers attempt to move on Luka Doncic. All of these things are fine. Here's a problem that I have. And it's a problem that I ranted about last year. And it's a problem I got told, Rob, you're just angry because it's your team. Of course, the conversation being that the NBA already makes it hard enough for small market teams to succeed. And I know that there are those out there that will go off on rants about how that's not true. That's just the whining of small market teams who are mad that their owners can't put together a good team, that their GMs can't put together championship rosters. And my counter to that is that so? Then tell me why it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's pretty much it, of small market teams that have won recent championships. Because I go back and I would stop me when I get to the first small market team. Stop me when I get to the first market. Was it the Boston Celtics? No. Was it the Denver Nuggets? No. Golden State Warriors? No. Milwaukee Bucks? Yes. Was it the LA Lakers? No. Toronto Raptors? That's maybe the next argument you have. But the population, in fact, let's see, just because I'm curious, population of Toronto, Canada is 3 million people. So no, that's not a small market team. Golden State. Is Cleveland a small market? Cleveland has a population of 361,000 people. I'll say yes. 2016, Cleveland Cavaliers. I would also point out, Lonzo, you may know this off the top of your head. Who was the finals MVP in the last time the Cleveland Cavaliers won an NBA final back in 2016? Do you happen to recall off the top of your head?
LeBron James.
LeBron James is exactly the correct answer. So in order for a small market team to win an NBA title, that small market team has to have a Giannis Antetokounmpo or a LeBron James. Before that, Golden State, San Antonio. San Antonio, I don't consider a small market team, but it is a 1.5 million population. That's a top 20 TV market. And that's, I think, what most people use.
What's a large population? I mean,
Toronto's got 3. That's twice as many people.
Okay.
I'll put it this way. New Orleans population, 369,000. Let's see Memphis. Memphis population, 621,000. Portland's population, 635,000. Let's see Milwaukee's population, 563,000. So I'm talking about a Toronto with 3 million people versus a New Orleans with 3,500. A Portland with 3.75 thousand, right? I think that's the difference. Here's what I don't need. It's already stacked. It's already stacked in favor of the big market teams. And now every time that a small market team finds some success, and I don't even know that I would necessarily call Dallas a small market team. They got 1.3 million people in that market. But I would say as one of the other ways I break it down is it a basketball team in a football city? I'm going to say the Dallas Mavericks. And I would be fair. I'll give it to the San Antonio Spurs too. Are a basketball team in a football market. Probably more so Dallas than San Antonio. That's a Cowboys city. The Stars and the Mavs are allowed to succeed there or allowed to play there, but it's a Cowboys city. All right, I've been there. So it is already difficult for a small market, or let's create a new category, a hampered team, to find success. One of the things that you must do is you must find a categorically exceptional basketball player. Whether or not Zion Williamson is one of them is going to be up for debate, although I've seen some pictures of Zion. Dude is shredded right now. Dude is 10 pounds less than he was during his Duke days, but still absolutely yoked. Breakout year, Zion Williamson's going to the Hall of Fame this year, all right? But put that to the side. You got to find a Luka Doncic to come play for the Dallas Mavericks. And then you've got to hook up with a Luka Doncic on a contract that keeps him on your team for a very long time. I can't stop it. There is nothing illegal about it. There is nothing unethical about it. There is nothing wrong with it. This is 100% a I'm in my feels scenario. And I acknowledge it. I admit it. This is based entirely on emotion and nothing else. But it is aggravating as hell when every time a small market team starts to find success because they get hooked up with a franchise player, an exceptional NBA player, a Zion, a Luka, a Giannis, and immediately the big-time media market starts saying, yeah, that guy should come. He should come here. Why? Because we're a big market team and we deserve him. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. Those authors have every right to write whatever podcast and blogs and vlogs and whatever else that they want to create for content. They have every right to do it. But as a small market team, it is very damn frustrating for me every time a small market team. So that you know how much this means to me, I am coming to the defense of a sports franchise from Dallas, Texas. I despise Dallas, Texas. I despise all of Texas, respectfully. I despise all of Texas.
You can't despise something respectfully.
Sure I can.
No.
I respectfully despise you.
I don't think that's possible.
I disrespectfully despise you. And I do so because Dallas fans have the biggest heads in the game, right? They're the only state that's like, we'd be better than you at being a country. Okay. All right, whatever you say, Texas. Maybe get your power grid working. Then we'll talk about you being your own country. All right? Point here is, I don't ever defend anything Dallas. I've been around Cowboys fans. They're the most obnoxious fans in the National Football League, hands down, bar none.
All of them?
Bar none.
Every single one of them?
Every one of them.
Every single one of them.
Every one of them. Even you, Cole. Even you.
I wasn't thinking of him.
Except one.
I was going to say, you're right about Cole.
Except one.
That was,
Except
someone who's riding in right about now and may actually have the radio on.
All the Dallas fans except that one. No, the point here is I don't ever defend teams from Dallas, but I'm defending the Mavs here because while, again, nothing wrong with that content creator, that podcast host, that author, whatever, penning an editorial that says my giant market team should just have the right to take whatever superstar they want from whoever, it's still obnoxious. It's already hard enough for those teams to win. It's hard enough for them to get ahead. It's hard enough for them to be competitive. And now I got to listen to and read big-time people from big-time markets going, we should just get him. Why? Because I want him. Because I want him. Ugh, it's very frustrating. Hey, let's take a break. When we come back, John Blau from the Post and Courier joins us to talk Clemson sports. We'll get an update on the lawsuits between Clemson and the ACC. And we will ask John, as Clemson gets set for Georgia, if the loss by Florida State changes anything for the Tigers' perspective on the ACC. That's next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, live reading. We're back with John Blau. Stay right there for me. Let's get back to it. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the fan upstate, Rob Brown, and the great one, Lonzo, with you this morning. Now, we go to the phone lines, as we do at this time every single Monday morning, to welcome in from the Post and Courier, John Blau, who covers the Clemson Athletic Department for the Post and Courier, joins us here on the show to talk a little Clemson athletics. John, my man, happy Monday. Happy football season, buddy. Besides much busier, how's life?
It's pretty good. Just happy to get to actual games. Talking season's over.
You ain't lying, man. You're lying. All that can be said has been said. Time to get to football. Now let's say some more things, John Blau. I want to start it with it and get it the hell up out of the way. Florida State and the ACC were sent to court-ordered mediation down in Florida about 2 weeks ago. Shocking to exactly no one, they did not reach a resolution through that mediation. What, if anything, does this do for Clemson's approach to the legal battle between the conference and the schools?
Nothing. I mean, obviously, the judge in Florida ordered that mediation. So it was something they had to do. Obviously, both sides are well apart. I'm sure the ACC's really dug in its heels, doesn't really want to, give. And obviously Florida State isn't going to pay the exorbitant amount that the ACC wants them to pay. And so Clemson's kind of in the same boat. Obviously there's going to be appeals on both sides in terms of the rulings. We've already had North Carolina and South Carolina in Clemson's cases. But I haven't even seen the actual appeals written yet. I mean, I think we're going to have a little bit of a lull here in terms of the legal process while the football season, kind of roars on here. But as far as the mediation, obviously nothing happened down in Florida. So I don't think anything's going to really change or anything's going to happen up in South Carolina or North Carolina for Clemson either.
Yeah, I suspect the same. Have there been any updates before we get away from this? I know there's still a lot going on, a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but has there been any change of note as far as Clemson's side of the lawsuit goes?
Yeah, no, not that I've seen them. I've been refreshing the websites with the dockets every single day to see if their appeal will get logged for the North Carolina case and trying to see if the ACC will finally register their appeal of the South Carolina ruling, but have not seen either. So that's actually been somewhat notable that we haven't seen any appeals filed yet, but I'm sure at some point it will happen, and we'll see kind of what the arguments are for that.
John Blau of the Post and Courier joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I want to get to the Clemson-Georgia game this Saturday here in just a moment, John, but before we do, Florida State upset by Georgia Tech in week 0, 24-21, your final in that one. What does, if anything, and obviously in the landscape of the 12-team playoff, a lot different approach. I think if it was a 14 playoff, if you're Clemson, you kind of take a look at that and feel a little bit better about the season. With the 12-team playoff and the ACC champ getting the auto bid now, maybe doesn't change anything. But what do you think the loss by Florida State in week 0, if anything, does for the mentality of the Clemson football team?
Yeah, obviously it puts Florida State, kind of a little bit behind you if you can obviously get off to a good start and ACC play. Obviously, Clemson doesn't play an ACC opponent until NC State in week 3. But yeah, I mean, it takes Florida State out of that driver's seat for sure, losing to Georgia Tech. Like you said, multiple ACC teams might be able to make the playoff. You probably get the champion, then maybe another team after that if another team has a good year. And so obviously Clemson's got to get over that hurdle of Georgia first, but even if they lose to Georgia, I mean, it's just like for Florida State. I mean, they lost that game against Georgia Tech. They run the table. They could still very well be in the ACC title game and get into the playoff. If Clemson loses to Georgia, they have a great year in the ACC. It doesn't really matter. I think Georgia's probably going to be one of the top, 10, top 5, maybe the best team in the league or in college football. So it's, it means, that Florida State isn't, off to a good start. That helps you. Maybe they're a little bit more pissed off when you play them down at Tallahassee in a few weeks. But it obviously doesn't change much for Clemson. I mean, they have to, win as many games as they can. Obviously Georgia first, and then if they can have a good year, multiple teams from the ACC can get in, and that helps everybody.
We're talking to John Blau from the Post and Courier. Joins us every Monday at this time to talk Clemson sports. Let's talk a little bit about this game coming up on Saturday. It is week 1. Some teams take a minute to get it figured out, to get that rhythm, that timing. Some teams are able to fire on all cylinders right out of the gate. What have you seen out of Clemson as far as the chemistry, the timing, and all that? Do we feel like this is an opportunity for Clemson to hit the ground running, or do you think it's going to be defend themselves for a little while they kind of figure out the offense against a very good Georgia defense?
Yeah, full transparency, we haven't seen much of anything at all. I mean, the 3 practices that were open to us, there was 0 11 on 11 that we saw play out. So we haven't seen Clemson's offense do much of anything. We haven't seen Clemson's defense do much of anything. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting right off the bat to play a team that's as talented as Georgia. Obviously, Georgia, has a quarterback like Carson Beck, who's projected as potentially one of the top, if not the top quarterback in the next draft. You have, Trevor Etienne, Travis's brother, at running back. You have a bunch of really talented guys defensively. So, obviously we're not going to know until we see it on the field what either team looks like. But I mean, obviously you assume that Georgia's very talented, and obviously you probably have to have kind of a see it to believe it type of philosophy with Clemson. I mean, they had a lot of confidence last year coming out of fall camp, and then the offense was pretty dysfunctional in that opener at Duke. And we've heard a lot of similar talk this fall, from the offense in terms of their building confidence and their winning, versus the defense in practice. And obviously, I think after the first scrimmage, Dabo Swinney said the offensive line won the day, which is encouraging with all the players they bring back and Matt Luke at the helm there. But again, talk is talk. Until we see it, we really don't know. And obviously, Georgia, again, is a program that's recruited all kinds of 4 stars and 5 stars, particularly the front 7. So we're going to see if Clemson's offensive line is actually going to be able to win the day, and if Kate Klubnik's able to make the right decisions and all that. But we really don't know, again, until we see it.
And that was going to be my big question is the success or failure in this game on Saturday going to be predicated by the line of scrimmage on both sides, offensive and defensive lines for Clemson? And if so, again, I know we haven't seen a ton of them so far, but do you think they've got the dogs to be able to compete with Georgia in the trenches?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I think offensively, yes, because I do think, as much as Kate Klubnik has grown, or you hope he's grown, taking pressure off his shoulders is really important. I mean, last year he was trying so hard to make too much happen too many times. That's where a lot of those mistakes happen. If you could take some pressure off his shoulders, run the ball with Phil Maffa, that really does alleviate some pressure there. And so I do think that's very important in the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, on the defensive side, the one thing that concerns me is obviously we heard that Sheldon Lewis had a leg injury during one of the scrimmages. We really don't know his status going into Georgia. Jaden Lucas, another corner, has had some injuries, some dings. He's been out with and coming back with. And so what's the state of that secondary going up against a Georgia team, again, that is led by Carson Beck, a very talented quarterback? So obviously the trenches are important. Obviously you got to keep Georgia off schedule, limit Trevor Etienne's ability to bust off big plays in the run game. I think Clemson is pretty well suited to do that. But in terms of back end, how healthy is the secondary going to be, and can they kind of limit the number of big plays Georgia's able to get in the passing game? So yeah, I would say the offensive side absolutely, the defensive side obviously always important, but the secondary is the thing that concerns me there on the other side of the ball.
All right, John Blau, last one and we'll cut you loose. 30-second answer. Clemson pulls the upset if blank.
If they're able to establish the run. Again, I don't know if that's possible against Georgia's very, very, very talented team, but if they're able to run for over 200 yards and they don't turn the ball over, considering, again, the strength of Clemson's defense, I think they have a really good chance to win the game. Whether that's even possible, I have no idea. I don't know if Georgia's ever going to give up that many yards on the ground, but I think if you're able to do that, that's probably the surest way to win the game. But again, we'll see if that's even possible.
John Blau covers the Clemson Tigers for the Post and Courier. You can find him on X at John_Blau, BLAU. John joins us every Monday at this time to talk Clemson sports. My man, John, next time you and I talk next Monday, big dog, we'll have an actual game result to talk about.
Yeah, Sounds good. Sounds like fun.
You got it. John Blau from the Post and Courier joins us every Monday. We appreciate the time. Thank you very much. We got to run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, let's dive into that game a little bit. Yeah, we still got 5.5 days before we get there. I don't care. We're talking football. After Lonzo does this sports flash.
Which may have some football in it. The lawsuit filed by sports apparel company Fanatics against Arizona rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. has been expanded to include his father, Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison Sr. Fanatics alleges the elder Harrison aided and abetted Harrison's fraud of the company and that the Harrisons misled the company into believing there was a contract between the two entities and that the two took actions to prohibit sales of merchandise afterwards. U.S. Ryder Cup captain Keegan Bradley knocked down a number of clutch putts to edge out Adam Scott, Sam Burns, and Ludwig Aberg to claim the BMW championship by one stroke. Bradley finished the event with an even par 72 on Sunday. Hey, tune in this Friday at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels head to Irmo to take on the Yellow Jackets. It's Burns versus Irmo right here on your home for Burns Rebels football. That would be us, the fan, upstate. Can. Where the heck is Lavinia? He made that up. That place don't exist. Maybe he meant Livonia.
Strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative genetics. Dr. Rachel Seinfeld, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics. The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting. And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way. Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs. Under Dr. Seinfeld's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America. I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772.
Breaking news: the Chiefs are signing Juju Smith-Schuster.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Those guys leave, like him, McCole Hardman, all those guys, and then they make their way back to the team. I mean, that's just – if you have some guys that are on the edge, you can't decide if you're going to bring them in or not. you're probably going to bring in a guy who you know what you can do with, I suppose. I was joking about it being breaking news. I mean, but still.
Yeah. The final hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do?
Did you forget? Or no, it was just that pause was for emphasis.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
You got to put the right emphasis on the right syllable. Otherwise, it just sounds funny. I am a dramatic actor. Sometimes you gotta ham it up a little bit.
Did they teach you that in enunciation class?
As anyone who listens to this show knows, my enunciation, C- at best. All right.
Did you actually have an enunciation class?
I did not, but
I know there are some people who went to those. So I just,
I did not. However, I did spend 1 year in the thespian club. I was an actor. And in said club, we did have a dialect coach in which I was taught to speak using the diaphragm, speak from deep down in your belly, and make sure that you project what you need to say.
We'd like to have words with that person, guy, girl, whoever.
It was a guy.
And tell him that what a wonderful job he did with teaching Rob Brown how to project.
Mr. Jameson.
Way to go, Jameson.
Mr. Jameson.
I'm sure he, if he's still around, is very proud.
I don't know if he is or isn't. What I can tell you is he said to me one time, there is a difference between projecting and being loud. And I didn't take that to heart at all. All right. There's projecting and then there's being loud. And they're different things.
Yeah, don't do that projecting thing anymore because that causes distortion.
When once I watched football, my life changed forever. Versus, let me tell y'all what Clemson's got to do to beat Georgia.
Daggum.
John Blau says, establish the run, don't turn the ball over.
You think Cade is spent the whole summer, just like holding on to the ball while, you've seen it in movies or TV shows and actual football practices where people try to knock the ball out of the quarterback's hands? Hold on to the ball. What if they do up downs or sprints every time there's a turnover in practice? I mean, it's college football. It's college football. They don't do that in college football, right?
No, some teams definitely do. Some teams definitely do.
Make them run stadiums.
Here is.
You don't want to do that in where the Clemson Tigers play. That's steep.
Golly, is it steep?
Imagine come back down running stadiums in that. No.
I had been to a couple of games at Memorial, at Death Valley, but because I'm me, I always got access to the elevator behind the scenes. Panther Fan Day was the first time I ever had to actually take the stairs in the stands, where the normal people sit. And
well, trust me, having sat up there, and it's the reason why I can't stand Clemson, they are not normal. If they are, then all my thoughts about Clemson are absolutely true.
I had to take the ramps in the stands where the normies sit. And I have to tell you, ultimate respect to people who buy season tickets in the nosebleeds, because I assume that you are quadzilla. You and Phil Maffa probably have the same leg strength at this place.
So the guy who took you up there, was he breathing heavy at all? Was he just like, it's like a normal day to him?
I can't really answer that, to tell you the truth, because in fairness, we only did the bottom bowl. We didn't go all the way to the top.
Oh, so you have no idea.
Yeah, I
really.
still haven't been to the top, but what I do know is I stood on the field. And I stood on the field at the wall on the Clemson sideline and looked up. And it's like the dude sitting in the top row is just straight above you.
Yeah, I've been up there. It's not pleasant.
Yeah, it's like it's damn near 90 degrees straight up. Let's talk a little bit about this game, Clemson v. Georgia, coming up on Saturday.
Which will not be in that stadium.
will not be in that stadium. It will be in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, Georgia, and I will start with, and we don't need to hang on it.
Is that where the Falcons play?
That is where the Falcons play.
Okay.
I won't hang on it because it theoretically shouldn't have any impact on the game, but it does, and that is crowd size. I don't know what it's going to look like. In an ideal world, it's 50-50. Half is purple and orange, the other half is red and black. In the real world, I'm suspecting it's going to be like 65-35 Georgia fans.
Yeah, this is a true test of whether Clemson believes or not by looking at the crowd, because they travel well. Clemson fans will go just about anywhere to watch their team play. And this being fairly close, do they believe that Clemson can beat Georgia? I think crowd size has something to do with belief.
I would like to agree with you, but I'm going to hesitate to do so for one reason, and it is that there is a difference between.
You just don't want to be right.
No, I do like being right. That's why I do it all the time. There is a difference between I believe in my team and I'm going to buy a ticket versus people who bark at other grown adults having the right to buy tickets.
Okay. So you're saying that there's fear. There's no fear in a Clemson fan.
No,
they're not afraid.
No.
Well, if someone barks at you, you're not afraid of them?
No.
You don't think that maybe they're a little bit psychotic or something?
That's not what I'm saying. Has nothing to do with what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Georgia fans right now, and it makes sense because their team is, if it's not already, is sitting on the threshold of becoming dynastic. And with Nick Saban being gone, they now believe that they can be and will be. I am saying right now, and this is not meant as an insult to Clemson fans, though Lonzo's going to do his best to spin it that way. Georgia fans, in terms of their fervor right now, are on a different damn level than everybody else and are probably willing to put a hell of a lot more money on the table for a game that they are a 14.5 point favorite in than Clemson fans are right now. And that's not to say Clemson fans lack a belief in their team so much as it's meant to say that Georgia fans have exactly and precisely zero belief that they're doing anything other than kicking everybody's ass this year.
Did that line go back up? Because I thought it went down. Is it still?
No, it didn't go down.
Okay.
All right, let me go look and I'll go look and see what it is today. Florida State's line went from 13.5 down to 10.5, and the large part of that was because of exactly what Rob Brown said. Georgia Tech is going to be in this game down to the very end. That game on Saturday is Georgia minus 13.5. So it has come down a point. It has come down 1 point. It was 14.5 down to 13.5. And by the way, while it has come down a point, the actual odds have shifted. It was minus 14.5 with both teams at minus 110. It is now Georgia minus 13.5 at minus 115 and Clemson at minus 105. So it is down a point, but it is down a point, but a little bit more juice towards the Georgia Bulldogs in this one, which means that either the money is still trickling in on Georgia, or Vegas is just confident that Georgia will be more likely to win by 14 than 13. So I am not going to say that the crowd size is going, if it does tilt Georgia, and being in Atlanta, I'm going to assume that it will. I don't think it has any indication on what Clemson fans think about their team. I think it is more of what Georgia fans think about theirs, because it's one thing to spend $150 on a ticket to go see a football game when your team is a two-tutty fave than it is as a two-tutty dog. But put that to the side. We asked John Blau in the last segment, by the way, if you missed our weekly interview with John Blau from the Post and Courier, who covers Clemson athletics up close and personal like, right after the show is over, all 4 hours of the show are made available to you in podcast form at thefanupstate.com. Go to the website, click on the podcast button, drop it down to the Rob Brown Show. All 4 hours will be posted there. You may also follow the show, should also follow the show on Spotify, Apple, Google Pod, wherever you find your podcast. Follow the Rob Brown Show there, and you can get all 4 hours sent directly to your phone via the podcast branded media of your choice. Now, all those things put to the side, all those things said, all those things talked about, let us get into the X's and O's of the game. Lonzo and I have both said, and I think accurately and correctly, that this season goes as Cade Klubnik goes. This season goes as the results you get out of QB1. Did he develop? Did he get better? Did he get more comfortable? Did he get into a rhythm and a routine? All of those questions, frankly, may or may not be answered on Saturday because Georgia's defense is very, very good. It is fast. It is big. It is aggressive. It is ruthless at the point of attack. And Cade is going to be pretty much under assault from the get, right? This defense is coming for you. I think when we say, or at least for me, and I'll throw my thoughts out there, and then we'll kick it over to the great one for his analysis. I think when I say, did Cade get better? We also have to, as I said earlier in the show, take into consideration the context of what that means. The context of how that needs to happen. You could have the greatest All-American quarterback in the history of college football. If he's playing behind an offensive line that stinks or is good but is getting whooped by an All-American caliber defensive line, it may not be on the quarterback. I'm not saying that we will or will not be able to get a good read on what Cade Klubnik is in game number 1. I'm saying keep your mind open to the possibility that Cade Klubnik has a bad game, but you still have to push the pause button on a Cade Klubnik evaluation. If Cade Klubnik comes back and next Monday we are sitting in these chairs having a conversation about the results of that game, and Cade Klubnik's numbers stink, what I'm saying is we need to make sure we are looking at it through the prism of the opponent he is up against. However, let us not say that the results are unimportant. The results of this game are important. Why are the results of this game important? Because Georgia may very well be if not one of the top 2 or 3 teams in college football. According to the Vegas betting lines, they are the best team in college football. Or I should say, according to the Vegas betting lines, they are the most believed in team in college football. Georgia's going to be exceptional. If Cade Klubnik and the Clemson Tigers believe that they are indeed a playoff caliber team, a team that can win the Atlantic Coast Conference and find themselves in an ACC title game at the end of the year, well, if they make it into the playoffs, they are going to be facing Georgia-like competition. They may not have to play a team that is as good as Georgia, because if they end up with the, let's say, 2 or 3 seed, in round 1, they will get the 2nd or 3rd lowest rated seed available in round 2. They may get stacked up against a BYU. They may get stacked up against a Cincinnati. They may get stacked up against a team that is good, but none of us really think they're up there with the quality of a Georgia or an Ohio State or an Oregon. They win that game, then they will, right? Then they will. When it goes from 12 teams down to 8 teams, and 8 teams down to 4, and 4 down to 2, that is when they most likely will get squared up against the team that is the quality of a Georgia Bulldog. Now, the nice thing is there's a lot of football between here and there. There are some challenging road tests. There are some challenging home games. Clemson will have, effectively, 12 games to get right, 13 if they catch a favorable draw in the first round of the second round of the playoffs if they win the ACC, first round of the playoffs if they do not win the ACC, but only lose a game and still find themselves in the competition. Which way will that go? No idea. We'll find out. This game on Saturday, I think, will be a referendum on the run game. I think it will be a referendum on the offensive line. I think it will be a referendum on the growth and development of the wide receivers. I think it will be a referendum on the defensive line and linebackers. I think it will be a referendum on the defensive backs. However, all of those referendums are directly connected to other stuff. All of those referendums are directly connected to other groups. And I would say Cade more than any of them. Cade Klubnik, when he gets the snap, the referendum on Cade will start with a referendum on the offensive line. Are they able to keep Georgia's defensive line, which is created with a bunch of monsters? Will they be able to keep him upright and protected from a Georgia defensive line? If my man is getting Bryce Young, that is getting the snap and immediately under assault from a group of very large individuals that wear numbers in the 70s, I don't know that it will be a fair referendum on Cade Klubnik. If Cade Klubnik is getting the snap and is protected from a large group of monsters wearing numbers in the 70s and is having dropsies by his wide receivers, that may not be a referendum on Cade Klubnik. We will then have to dive in. Okay, they're open, but are they good passes? Are they overthrown and underthrown? Are they lasered, blistered in there when they need to be finesse or vice versa? Is he leaving guys out to get hung up to dry? There's a lot of questions that can be answered, but all of these things are directly connected to other individuals on the football field. So I don't know that we will get, I'm not saying we will not. I'm saying I don't know if we will get a fair referendum on where Cade is when they are opening with the baddest dudes in the game in week 1.
I think we will to one degree. Don't fumble the ball. Don't throw it to the other team.
Very fair. Very fair. We'll talk more about this game when we come back. Also, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth last night during the Sunday night game, Patriots and Commanders, came up with a very interesting philosophy regarding the opportunity to make the NFL preseason great again. Do they do it? I'll tell you the thought that he put together, and we will talk about whether or not we like it when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Oh, now I saw the limp. All right, guys, give me 60 seconds. Be right back. All right. Thanks for hanging in there. Y'all appreciate that dramatically. Sincerely.
He seemed offended that I accused him of having me come all the way in and get that key on purpose.
Who was it, Chris?
No,
Tim?
Mark.
Oh.
Yeah. It was Tim. I told him to take his butt in and do it. I mean, you know. There is a way to get into the office for somebody else, but nobody was going to see him. But, you know, if people read my emails, read the schedule, they would know that I was not going to come into contact with anyone. So, I mean, you know, really what it comes down to. I am not Diesel. He is not Diesel.
I think you may have just done that just because of what you're wearing on the t-shirt. Was SmackDown any good? I haven't watched it yet.
Yes.
Okay.
I will point out that I did a South Carolina Gamecock show for 14 years. I've got quite a bit of Gamecock merch. And as I told Mark Ryan, and he said it wasn't true, but turned out it was because I know what I'm talking about. You don't put the colors on of another team and not be declared a fan of that team. When he put the orange on and went in the booth, I was like, you're a Clemson fan. No, I'm not. And I ended up like in the office in trouble for implying that he was a Clemson fan, even though we all knew he was. So, I mean, you know, I don't prescribe to what people's Diddy told him that you listen, son, you are a fan of this team and this team only. You listen to your Diddy. Dadgum. I am a fan of 2 college football teams and a fan of 2 pro football teams. And if you don't like it, that's your opinion. I mean, if you don't like it, I get it that you don't like it, but you're not going to change my opinion. And, you know, I want you to continue listening, Wesley. I mean, you know. And this is also my favorite Gamecock shirt, and it's 20 years old. I want to point that out. And I'm very disappointed that it took 3.5 hours for someone to say something because I was waiting for it at 6. I'm also for any team that's playing Clemson. I'm also that. I'm a fan of any team that plays Clemson. And any team that plays Michigan. I'm a fan of that team. Unless it's Clemson playing Michigan. And then I'll choose Michigan.
So the NFL's preseason this year has been received with a lukewarm enthusiasm by the majority of NFL fans. And it's understandable why. Because the overwhelming majority of sports fans, and I am not saying this with any negative connotation at all. As Lonzo and I have said many times over, it is an entertainment industry. Sports is an entertainment industry. We want to be entertained, and everybody is entertained by different things. Some people are entertained by legitimately, genuinely great competition on the field, people doing wildly athletic things that we are incapable of even understanding.
You know, we can say something that a lot of you can't say. Sports are our life, because that's why we're here.
Correct.
The three-time sports show of the year in the state of South Carolina.
Correct. But even we, as a part of the big sports industrial complex, we are here as entertainers, first and foremost.
I hope so. I mean, because if we're not,
That's not true. I could be here as an analyst because I know ball. But we are here primarily as entertainers. Our job is to entertain
you know what I heard there? That analysts are boring and not entertaining. That's what I heard.
No.
That's what
No. It's just that not everybody is entertained by analysis. Right? Like, not everybody gives a damn about the numbers.
Like me and us,
right.
Us casuals.
Exactly right. Not everybody is entertained by the numbers. Some people want to be entertained just by playing the game. Some people like to be entertained by the human interest stories that are out there. Oh, this kid had such a hard path growing up, and now he's the starting quarterback. That's what they're compelled by. Some people are compelled by the celebrity aspect of it. Imagine, think about how many people out there are wearing Travis Kelce jerseys who never gave a damn about the Chiefs, but then Travis hooked up with Tay-Tay, and now they're big fans because of the celebrity angle. You be entertained by whatever aspect of the game you want to be entertained by. For sure. It is an entertainment industry. I am not pushing back on that, which is why I think there is going to be, moving forward, a relatively dramatic effort to make the NFL's preseason more entertaining. Because unless you are a fan of the X's and O's, unless you are primarily entertained by the analysis, unless you are primarily entertained by constructing a depth chart, your wish list of backups and reserved, which I would imagine is probably not the majority of NFL fans, the preseason doesn't really hold anything for you, right? When you tune into a game and you see 2s and 2s, 3s, it's not going to be the best football. And as we have displayed as Americans 1,000 times and 1,000 times again, we're going to watch best we can watch. That's why the UFL isn't unsuccessful because of the calendar or the schedule or any of that. It's unsuccessful because it pales in comparison to the quality of football that is on display in Sundays during the fall. The reason the NFL is still outdrawing and always will outdraw college football on a weekly basis isn't because we don't love college football. It's because the majority of fans want to watch the best a thing can be, and the NFL is purely football, better football. That's it. That's the end of it. So, Tirico and Collinsworth last night on a little Sunday night football, we're having a conversation about how you can make the preseason great again. How can you make the preseason good, entertaining, compelling? And this is what Tirico had to say. And I found it a somewhat good idea. I'm not going to play the recording of it because he just kind of went on for a hot minute about it. But basically what Tirico said was this. Remember how last week, leading up to the Panthers v. Bills preseason game, we discussed Lonzo wanting very badly to see the Carolina Panther starters take to the field? And I said, yeah, I mean, I get it. Me too. But let's also not forget here that, this is about Canales having the opportunity to see backups, see depth guys, see guys that he can rotate onto the field when somebody gets hurt, somebody's having a real bad day, whatever. And then we had 2 weeks ago when we did not see the starters. And the question was why? Why didn't we see the starters? And the answer was because the starters in the week leading up to the Jets preseason game, the starters for the Panthers and the starters for the Jets played a scrimmage on Thursday in joint practice. They went 11 v. 11 in a controlled scrimmage, a scrimmage where the coaches said, here's what we're going to do in the scrimmage. We're going to do X amount of open field offense, X amount of goal line offense, X amount of goal line defense. We're going to put you guys up against another NFL team in real football scenarios, but in a controlled environment. Tirico said, what if instead of having full preseason games where all these coaches are having these 11-on-11 joint practice scrimmages on Thursday and not playing their starters, what if instead of those Thursday scrimmages, what if instead of having a pure preseason game, we had that joint 11-on-11 controlled scrimmage as the preseason game, right? And instead of having that behind closed doors on a Thursday afternoon, what if instead you did one last day of joint practice? You did one last day of joint practice, and that controlled scrimmage was a part of the final practice, which is the preseason game. And his idea was this, so that everybody got a crack at seeing everything. For one half, like an hour, you have that 11-on-11 controlled scrimmage. This is, by the way, what they're doing in college ball right now, right? You can tune in. I was
going to say, so this is just you want it to be spring games. That's what you want.
Basically, yeah. So he said you do one half like they're doing with the spring games. They're putting it on TV. They're talking to the guy. See, here's how I think you do it. Instead of just going 11-on-11 controlled scrimmage, you mic up the coaches. You mic up Sean McVay. You mic up Dave Canales. You mic up Dennis Allen. You mic these guys up, and you have them either give interviews or you just have the audio of them coaching what they want to coach up, right? And you bring the fans onto the field. You send a reporter down there with the mic, and she's walking player to player, guy to guy, and asking questions. Hey, Jadeveon Clowney, you just went out there and had a sack in the controlled scrimmage. Talk to me about what happened. And you never have to stop the action. It's just a scrimmage practice. You do that for like an hour, and then you play one half, a second half, which is the backups. Then you send them out there to actually play football. So now, those of you that want to be entertained by the starters, you get 60 minutes of actually seeing the starters play. See a controlled scrimmage where you don't have to throw your quarterback in front of a full live action defense, but your fans do get to see Bryce Young throw some passes, do get to see Bryce Young conduct a 2-minute drill, do get to see. On top of that, I would even argue it's more compelling because now, even though I want to see Bryce Young play a game, I think you meet the casuals and the hardcores in the middle, right? Because they want to see Bryce Young throw and see the Panthers receivers catch and see the blocks and the runs and the tackles and all that. But on the flip side, guys like me who don't just want to see football, but want to see specific things. I want to know, and I still don't think in fact, I know we don't get to know. I want to see Bryce Young's comfort level leading a 2-minute drill offense. What's going to happen if BY9 and the offense get the ball back down 3 with a $1:37 left to play and 75 yards to go, 70 yards to go to score a tutty? I want to know the composure level of Bryce Young. Well, guess where I can see that? In a simulated 2-minute drill scrimmage against the starters for the Jets. And I don't have to worry about BY getting shattered by a defensive line. You put him in the red no contact jersey and we run it out there, right? Touch on the pads, it's a sack. I think you meet in the middle, and then the second half, then you run your 2s and 3s out there and you let them play a game. Now the fans get a game, and the hardcores get to see what they want to see, and the casuals also get to watch the ones. That's kind of, I actually like that plan from Tirico and Collinsworth. I don't know if the coaches will go for it because that is, a full 30 minutes less of football per week that they get to see depth, see the backup guys. But if you are truly wanting to meet the fans in the middle, if you are truly wanting to put out a product that compels people to watch it, instead of playing these preseason games in half-empty stadiums and on TV channels that don't have anybody watching them because nobody cares, I feel like meeting fans in the middle is a good way to do it. And I feel like this is a good way to meet him in the middle. I actually really like this plan from Tirico and Collinsworth.
Yeah, it never happened though. Just won't happen.
Why?
I don't like it anyway. I'd rather see a preseason game.
You complained all preseason long. You didn't say a word about good until we saw the starters.
By the way, preseason's still better than that idea, whether I complained about it or not, because ain't nobody going to see that.
I disagree. I think people would. Why wouldn't they? You get both. You get to buy a ticket. You get to go see Bryce and Deontay and all these guys.
You want me to pay to come see practice, not a preseason game.
No, you're also going to get the preseason game.
But you want me to come see practice.
I'm giving you both. I'm giving you 1 hour of seeing Bryce and Deontay and TMJ and Chuba Hubbard and the starting O-line, and then I'm giving you 60 minutes of football or 45 minutes of actual football. Play 2 20-minute halves. Right? Play 20 minutes, take a break, play 20 minutes. You're getting both. You're not, let's scratch that. You ain't bought a damn ticket to go see the 2s and 3s, so what's it matter if you wouldn't buy a ticket? It ain't for you.
On behalf of the casuals, I say nay.
The casuals aren't going. That's the point. You already aren't going, so this change doesn't matter to you.
Just like how you aren't going to break when you hear the music.
Yeah, but you said something I had to fix. It's important. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Also, by the way, this is opening week, so it's week 1. I'll be wearing some Ohio State gear too. I'm just gonna, switch it up. I did this last year, and the year before, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. And during years when we weren't on stream yet, because it didn't exist yet, I did that then too. Just like next week when Rob wears a Saints gear every single day, the same shirt without washing it. Every single day.
I only do that if we're winning.
Then he's going to add like beads each day. So by the end, he's going to look like Mr. T by Friday. It's going to be awesome. And the jersey he will be wearing will be a Spencer Rattler jersey.
I will say this. We watched the preseason game yesterday. First off, Spencer Rattler was dealing yesterday.
I watched
a
good portion of the fourth quarter this morning before I came in.
Dealing yesterday. And Courtney said, "Will you get me a Spencer Rattler jersey?" And I said, yes. I don't buy player jerseys that often because every time I buy a player jersey, that guy's off the team within a year. I probably got 4 Saints jerseys of guys that aren't on the team anymore. Not like all time.
You kept them though, right? I mean, you kept the jerseys, right?
Unless they go to be a Falcon.
Okay, because jerseys are expensive. I'm not getting rid of it just because they went to play for another team.
It depends on who they go to play for.
I can wear it doing yard work or something.
If they go somewhere that I'm like, all right, they're just going there so they can get a paycheck for another year or two, and I know they're not really going to be an impact player, and they are going to be like Sam Mills. I'll keep Sam Mills' jersey forever because even though he went on to be a Panther legend, he was a Saints legend first. That's always going to be a Saint to me, even if he is a Saint or a Panther guy as well. Morton Anderson, for God's sake, went to be a Falcon. But to me, he's always a Saint. Sammy Knight, Keith Poole, all guys that went on elsewhere that I loved them as Saints, and to me, they'll always be a Saint. Then there's other guys like, I'm trying to think of one that falls into this.
I don't know if this is real or not, but LSU just posted video of the Sphere with an LSU helmet.
Yeah, they are real. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that is so wicked.
That's where the game against USC is.
Yeah, weekend. And the shine on the Sphere.
It's dope, right?
Yeah,
that thing's wild.
Well, I mean, the Sphere is already cool, but I hadn't seen a helmet on there.
They did it for the NHL draft. They put hockey helmets on it and had them spinning around. It was super legit. Steven, God dang it.
That's kind of an upgrade. He has put on some muscle. Last year, it was a small.
Tell me he didn't look a little bit better. He looked like he put on a little bulk.
Obviously, he did, yes.
Put on a little bulk.
But he's going to need it. if that line doesn't get a little bit better. I guess muscle helps the impact more. I think fat helps it better because it absorbs more than, I don't know.
You know, out of the gate, woof. One, I sat down yesterday to watch the New Orleans Saints preseason contest against the Tennessee Titans. And there were a couple of things I wanted to see. Did not see the starters out of the New Orleans Saints yesterday, as we don't see the starters for a lot of, if not most of the teams in week 3. Did see them for a few, Carolina included in that number. You know what I wanted to see? The Saints have a very, very interesting situation that they find themselves in. That very interesting situation that they find themselves in is that they have a quarterback debate going on. It's not for QB1. That belongs to future Hall of Famer Derek Carr. But QB2. That quarterback debate is between the guy that they took in the draft last year, Jake Haener, and the guy that they took in the draft this year, Spencer Rattler, the former South Carolina Gamecock. I'm going to tell it's an interesting discussion because Jake Haener has a year of experience in the NFL. Jake Haener has a year under the Dennis Allen coaching regime. Jake Haener has got time served. Spencer Rattler is just getting into it. He is just finding his way. He is just getting into the groove. So which of these guys do you go with? I am going to tell you, I think it'll be Spence. And not just because you will all recall that before the draft happened, not after my Saints got him, before the draft happened, I said Spencer Rattler is the steal of the draft. Somebody's going to get this kid in the 4th, 5th round, and they are going to turn him into a stud. And I got, oh, Rob, you're just homering it up. You're a Gamecock fan. You're just homering it up. And I said, whoa. Hold your gosh darn horses for just a minute. I said, I'm not saying this because I genuinely feel that way. And then not 12 hours after I said it, RG3, former ESPN employee, came out and said it. Who was it? What's the draft guy's name for ESPN?
Kuiper?
Mel Kiper came out and said it. Like a bunch of dudes said it after I said it. No, I'm not claiming that I am a big-time social media influencer, even though I am. I'm saying it because my point was I don't say things unlike some people. Not you. I was talking about somebody else who.
I was looking at that thing from earlier, and you're right.
My big gray hair streak.
Yeah, just
my rogue streak.
I'm noticing it now that the lighting is better.
I got big old gray hair streak right there in the front.
Yeah,
Lonzo said it's lighting. No, it's not. It's the same.
Well,
no matter
I will
where
tell
I go.
you, I bet people in the stream think you just dyed one piece of hair.
I did not. Apparently, over the weekend, I just got a gray streak right in the front of my head. Anyway, I don't say things
you got from dealing with all the repair places, man.
Honest to God, that might be what it is. I don't say things just for the sake of getting a reaction out of a fan base. That's too easy. I'd rather say something that gets me a reaction out of all the fan bases. It's better for my job, my career, right? I said it because I genuinely think people did not understand just how difficult it was for Spencer Rattler to have any form of success for the Gamecock team that he spent a couple of years playing for. He stood out to me on a team that he had no business, nobody had any business standing out on. So I thought it was steal of the draft. And I think my dude put it on display for the New Orleans Saints this weekend. I think he put on display why I will make the gamble now. If Derek Carr gets in any way, shape, or form banged up this year, Spencer Rattler will start for the New Orleans Saints, not Jake Haener, because the guy was dealing yesterday.
Is that all of it, or is part of it if they're fairly even? Do you go with the guy that the crowd enjoys more?
No, because as I've said a million times, and it is a good thing for the NFL, you do not make decisions based on what the fans want. That's a stupid way to win your franchise. Real bad way to run a franchise. That's a good way to ruin a franchise.
So you don't put up a social media poll to all the fans. Hey, who would you pick? And then whoever wins, you go with that.
That is
person?
correct.
Okay.
Wonderful in sports talk radio. Terrible for running an NFL franchise. I will say this. What I would do is if Derek Carr gets banged up, I'm going to Spence Rattler depending on where this team is at that point in the season. If the offensive line is as tragic as I think it's going to be, much like I said with BY last year, much like I've said with Drake May for the Patriots this year, I'm not throwing that guy out there. I'm not throwing that guy out there behind a garbage offensive line to get massacred by the NFL for no reason. If that is what I'm doing, I'll throw Jake Haener out there and let that guy take the lumps. But I will say this. Spence looked real good this weekend. Like, real good this weekend. And if he looks real good this weekend, I'd like to see him get some opportunities in the regular season here and there.
Despite not getting as many wins as they should have gotten last year for South Carolina, him staying in school one more year really helped him. And he got on a team where there's a good shot that he's a quarterback there a couple of years from now.
Yep. And by the way, has time to develop. Nick Saban was right when he said on Hard Knocks, episode 1 of the Bears edition, he said, and I quote, I don't know if you guys know that guy, Rob Brown, down in Greenville, South Carolina, but he knows ball. And I agree with him when I say the downfall of many, if not most, rookie quarterbacks is the fact that they have pressure heaped upon them and they are thrown in with no time to get up to speed in the NFL. Part of the reason Spence is in a great spot is because he's got time. He ain't QB1. The expectations aren't on him yet. He's got time to learn, to process, to develop, to get up to speed with the NFL. He's going to have at least a number of weeks, if not a season, to get developed, because I think that he has got the opportunity to be right there in the mix.
So if Saban was right on that, was he right Saturday on game day when he said he had nothing to do with, and neither did Herb Street have anything to do with Florida State not making it in the playoffs last year?
Oh, no, he was very wrong about that. He's very wrong about that. I did love.
Took me a while to figure out why Herbie was getting booed.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
I knew that was happening before it started.
When he talks, I always boo in my head anyway because he's such a Clemson shill. But, you know.
What I shall say about this is big ups to my guy, Seamus, who, when they were talking about it during the pick segment at the end of game day, and they were asking him, who's your pick to win the ACC? He picked Florida State. Wrong call. Already told you they weren't going to, but he picked FSU, and then he gave it to Herb Street. He's like, oh, Kirk, didn't you have something to do with how their season ended? I was like, oh, Seamus going to get in trouble, and I'm here for it, fella. Absolutely adored that.
I will say Desmond Howard looks so smug sitting over there because he wasn't getting booed, and watching Herb Street get booed.
Yeah.
When Desmond Howard gets booed everywhere he goes.
Every time Herb opened his mouth, the fans gave it to him, and it was awesome.
I'm a little disappointed. I thought Florida State would have a little more Dom-like heat. I mean, that kind of sound. Where Herb Street could not get any words in.
Did you
I had to explain to my wife what that backdrop was. I was like, so they don't hit them with stuff.
That's exactly what it was.
No, I know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I also will say that the fact that the fan base was all over Herbie was absolutely hysterical to me. All right, because I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy at all. That was hilarious to me. I also love that Sheamus got on him about it. That was hilarious to me. And you can say what you want because not everything is for everybody. But McAfee in the game getting absolutely blitzed on the Friday pod at the brewery was the funniest television I've seen in a very long time.
It was, you know what, you want
Hilarious.
to get drunk on the air, that's one thing. But when you throw up on the air, that's something totally different.
Hilarious.
And AJ Hawk looks so uncomfortable.
He was.
How do I fix this? And there was no way he could figure out how to fix it. The guests were off put because they didn't know how to handle his slurring questions. I disagree with you. I think he's going to be in some kind of trouble, and he probably should.
They knew good and damn well exactly what they were signing up for, sending him to
drank
Guinness.
30. Rob, that's too much.
No, it's too much to you. It seemed like a great amount for Pat McAfee.
Obviously, it was too much for him too.
Here's the thing. The show ain't for you then. Don't watch it.
Okay.
I loved it.
Despite your pointing, I bet he apologizes today. All right. The first thing that's Xing is Ricochet.
Ricochet is Xing because the former WWE not quite superstar is now an AEW superstar, entered into the AEW Prism this past Sunday when he joined the Casino Royale Gauntlet match, I believe is what they titled it. Came out, did his flippy spinny stuff. And here's what I hope. I hope that AEW utilizes him the way that WWE started to utilize him when he first got there and then stopped. Because the dude's good.
We'll see.
And also Samantha Irvin.
Who is still in WWE. So looking forward to Wednesday to see what happens with that. All right. The next thing that's Xing is Spider-Man 4.
Spider-Man. The 4th edition of Spider-Man. Spider-Man 4 Xing because we are starting to get a little information about what this movie might shape up to be. I assume that there is going to be some sort of continued connection to the multiverse, but I'm also sure that they are going to start working it more into the in-depth aspect of the universe, including bleeding over more back into the New Avengers / I think Thunderbolts edition.
All right, so people are kind of upset because according to leaks, it's going to be another multiverse thing, but it's going to be between Doom and Secret Wars. So it's going to link those two.
Why would they be upset about that?
I don't know. Some people are just that way. All right. The next thing is Xing is Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. Actually, do not know why Becky Lynch is Xing. I'm going to say it's because it's her birthday and she is 40.
I don't think she's that old, but no, she is Xing because of Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter, as I predicted, showed up. She didn't do what I thought she would do. She showed up, but she has Becky Lynch hair.
She does. I saw that.
And what she was wearing, everything. So
I am just simply going to say that Jamie Hayter is a redhead.
Beat the mess out of Saraya. So.
Jamie Hayter as a redhead had me feeling some kind of way. That's all I'm going to say.
I was thinking, is that her natural color? Because it looks good on her. That's what I was thinking. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice trending because the Kansas City Chiefs. Do they really sign Juju? Is that true?
This is why it's trending because Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Juju, and Xavier Worthy. How's that for your Enthil and Kelsey? How's that for?
We don't know yet.
Enthil and Pacheco?
Don't know yet.
How's that for receivers?
We know what Pacheco can do. We know what Kelsey can do. Hollywood Brown is a guy who occasionally suffers from bouts of the dropsies. I don't know if that will afflict him with Mahomes throwing in the ball. Maybe not. Xavier Worthy is a guy who's looked good in preseason. I don't know what he looks like against one defenses. We're going to find out. This is not saying they will be bad. It's saying we'll find out. And correct me if I'm wrong. Did you personally not on Juju before he left you last time? Yes, you did. So let's not be like, oh, now Juju's great again. Because when he left, you were like, good, he's gone. He sucks.
Yeah, but I also knew he'd be back because all those receivers, they leave like McCole Hardman, and then they come back because Andy's like, yeah, come on back. I know how to use you. Nobody else does. And finally, the last thing that's Xing is Joe Milton.
Joe Milton Xing because Joe Milton might be a freaking stud. And
says he can throw the ball 97 yards, by the way.
For the record, I actually kind of believe
him.
And
he's working on being able to throw it 100.
I kind of believe him. The kid has a cannon. He has a howitzer for a right arm. Do not be shocked if Joe Milton's on that roster to start the year and Jacoby Brissett is not. They might take 2 rooks into the season this year. Probably not, but they might. All right, that's it for us. Thanks for being here. Texture said, correction, future Hall of Famer, Spencer Rattler. I hope so, Texter. I really do. That's it for us. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better and one day closer to college football week 1 on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
I really don't give a
James, if I didn't know better, I'd say that was sarcastic and therefore disrespectful. But I don't know better.
What you were saying about the receiving core? Yes. Everything you said about the receiving core was disrespectful. And disappointing because you would think you would learn your lesson, but that's okay. Because thanks to you, 3-peating. All because of you. Now I have to go through and all the BetMGM stuff. It has people on them and do something with it. I don't know. Shouldn't have accused the boss of having me come in on purpose because now I'm going to have a lot more work to do. And I deserve it because I should be smarter than that. How dare me?
How dare you? The audacity.
Exactly. Audacity, isn't that like where we were? No, it's not. Audacity. Bacon.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable Centipedes going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long.
All right, dudes and dudettes, I got to run because I got to go to mechanic number 4. Huzzah. Love this. I love this
That
for me.
already happened. That's happened a couple of times in a couple of different stations where I've done that. And
somebody's got a picture floating around of him in a very orange Clemson baseball jersey. He looks very handsome in orange. I can say that for a
I
fact.
look good in any color.
Very handsome in orange. Almost like it's his color.
No.
It's right in the Lonzo palette.
No, you don't want to do this. You don't.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow. I'm going to leave before Lonzo makes me regret all of my life's choices.